Hey, y'all. Yes. Hello, everyone. It is I, Vitamin Key. Well, my name's Kiana Footman. I'm known in the internet streets as Vitamin Key, and welcome to Level Up Single Mom for our Woman Chat Wednesday live stream that I didn't do yesterday, which was Wednesday, because I had a lot of running around to do and I got tired, and Themis was actually had a live scheduled, and so I just decided to let faith move me, and I just postponed our chat until today. So here I am for Woman Chat Wednesday on a Thursday. How are you? What's going on? What is up? I'm serving you face today because mainly because I was inspired by the topic and the thumbnail. I was very much so inspired by the looks of some of the characters that I'm going to discuss today. We're talking about anger. We're talking about Black women's anger, and of course, single mothers' anger. But I'm noticing, I'm catching on to the theme that this is not just a space. Yes, Themis. Yes, yes. This is not just a space for single mothers anymore, and I'm loving that. Like, I'm really, really, really happy that everyone is chosen to gather here. So yeah, we're going to talk about anger today. So I'm going to go ahead and play the intro, and then we'll get started. Hello. Hey. Hi, how are you? Thank you very much. Yes, I was explaining that the thumbnail inspired me and the subject matter inspired me. I was talking about anger, and we'll get into all of that. But this is my witchy look, but it has to be like cute and colorful because it's me. But the dark lip makes it witchy to me, you know. Hey Lantonette, welcome to our Woman Chat Wednesday on a Thursday. So again, today's subject is about anger. And my personal story with anger, or my journey with anger, I never considered myself an angry person. It hasn't been until very, very recently, I'm talking within the last 2 years or so, that I've been able to own anger as something that is inherent to myself, something that I knew that I was feeling it, but I didn't realize I was feeling it so deeply, and I did not realize I was carrying it. That being said, though, I did recognize anger in, my sister. When I talk about my inspiration for writing the book is Level Up Single Mom, the Single Mother's Guide to Reclaiming Her Dignity. I did speak about, guilt and anger and all of those types of things, and why it's really important to process those informations, process those emotions and that information in order to be able to move past it and put that energy to better use in your life. But I didn't recognize just how big of a part how much space anger was taking up within my own emotional ecosystem. So it'd be really easy, right, to just sit and say that my anger was solely due to men, and specifically the men that I have children with and stuff. But when I really got into the meat and potatoes of that work, I had to recognize that it was not them. They were not the root cause of it. And we'll talk about all of that later. But when we're talking about anger in terms of single motherhood and things like that, one of the key experiences that I can recall that both played to the anger that was already there, amplified that, and then added on to it, was the the manipulation of my fear of being perceived as an angry Black woman, and also as a, I'm sorry, allergies, also as a bitter baby mom. My anger was weaponized to keep me in line. You know, there were so many times where I can remember making certain decisions or moving a certain way or not moving a different way because I didn't want to be perceived as a bitter Black woman and as a bitter baby mom. And actually even having those words spoken to me kind of in a way like, you don't want to be a bitter, are you bitter baby mom? You're being bitter. You know what I mean? Like specifically, it was, if you do this, you're a bitter baby mom. If you don't let me do this, you're a bitter baby mom. You get what I'm saying? And even though I knew that wasn't the case, even though I knew that that's not the totality of how I felt, or that was an oversimplification of how I felt, I still, being in that space of not recognizing those things as manipulation, of not recognizing that as abuse, of not thinking of those people who I wanted to believe that we had a certain bond as a predator or a threat, that I just fell in line because I was like, oh, well, I don't want, I'm being misunderstood and I don't want them to be misunderstood. So now I'm doing even more work to try to correct what I'm thinking is a misunderstanding. You get what I'm saying? And that is really, hi, Giselle Santos, Confidence with Love. I don't have my glasses on and I have on lashes, so I'm going to be squinting. Thank you. Thank you so much. Chris, my guy, how are you? Where's AJ? Hope you're having a minute. Oh, I keep forgetting. You guys are like hours behind, so you're probably at work. She's at work. But hi to you. Hi to both of you if she's here. Antipodes, hello, welcome. So yeah, that's so damaging and that's so maddening. You know what I mean? Once I got into a place where I recognized what had been happening, and not even because, it comes in waves. That realization comes in waves. It doesn't just hit you all at once. At once, it's just a thing, what, I'm hurting. I don't want to deal with anybody and I'm tired. And then as time goes on, you realize, wait a minute, all these years when they were saying this, when this was going on, this is actually what's happening. And then you get even angrier. And the dangerous part and the scary part about that is when you really get to the nitty gritty, you're not just angry at them, you're angry at yourself. And like, what can one really do when you're angry at yourself? You know what I mean? Like, what is the retribution for being angry at yourself? If you're angry at somebody else, you can cuss them out. Maybe you could fight. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different things that you can do. I'm not saying they're all good. There's a lot of different options that you have when you're angry with someone else. But when you're angry with yourself, like, where do you go with that? And like I said, when you're not fully aware of the anger, or you're not respecting the anger, you're not processing the anger, it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. It's still there, and it is manifesting itself in one way, shape, or another. I want to read an excerpt from my book. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm getting all these symptoms. It's the makeup too. That happens when I get makeup. Hey, True Mystique. So this is from, which chapter is this? This is the last chapter of my book. It says, think about the moments when you're snapping at your kids, while in your own head you're wondering why you're so mad at this little person that you love so much, and how the things flying out of your mouth at them are so horrible, yet you can't seem to stop. If you're constantly at a level of 45 on a scale from 1 to 10, if you're increasingly resentful of the multitude of tasks that make up your list of daily responsibilities pertaining to your children, if you're constantly looking to the past or future and unable to sit still and quiet in the here and now and feel joyful without feeling like or fearing that this is just temporary, you are most certainly not happy. And I can guarantee that it's affecting your relationship to and with your children, even if you think you're holding it together. No matter how much you spend on extravagant clothes, toys, or trips, if you do not proactively deal with the negative feelings you harbor about the harsher realities of your situation, they will manifest in the form of mood swings, risky and or overindulgent behavior, and unhealthy to the point of obsessive need to try and control people and situations that aren't, never were, and never will be in your control. We've all been and seen this single mother before. She can be a combination of any or all of these characteristics. Combative against anyone giving her or her children constructive criticism or warranted correction. Aggressive towards anyone and everyone, including her children. Short-tempered. Permissive, allowing her children to run all over her and anyone unlucky enough to be in their vicinity. Allowing men to use and abuse her and or her children. Neglectful of her children by not attending to their needs in the most basic of ways, like feeding, bathing, properly clothing them, etc. Not monitoring and establishing standards for academic performance and behavior. Spending all her free time with men or in the streets. Or neglectful of herself by not keeping herself reasonably presentable. Isolating herself and or her children unnecessarily, and limiting her own options due to a sense of duty and or hopelessness. She could be overindulgent of the children by having lax or non-existent standards of behavior, flimsy boundaries or none at all, no real consequences for poor behavior, spending obscene amounts of money on material things, or overindulgent of herself, using food, alcohol, sex, drugs, social media, relationships, etc. as a stand-in for self-esteem, to numb unwanted emotions, block bad memories, compensate for unmet expectations, and replace the things they really want but don't believe they can have for whatever reason. I just wanted to outline the ways in which, and mind you, I'm talking about all different kinds of emotional repression when it comes to that particular part of, hey, Mara, Nia, Invincible. Hi, everybody. Thank you. I think I put that up there. Yeah, so that's a full range of emotions that encompasses that experience. But even though we're just specifically talking about anger tonight, I still want to highlight the way that that is how it affects you. That's how it shows up in your mothering, in your life as a single mother, and even in your life as a regular woman. When you're dealing with people, period, your family and stuff like that, it can affect your relationships and affect how you take care of yourself. That is why I have Refine Your Shine as one of the focus points of Level Up Single Mom, because the way you present yourself has to do with how you feel about yourself. And a lot of times when people are just saying, oh, I'm just low maintenance, I don't care about that stuff, what they're not saying is, I don't care enough about or for myself, or I don't feel like I'm important enough to make the time to do the things to pretty myself. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's frivolous and I don't feel like I deserve it. You know what I mean? So it's really, really important. Thank you so much. I love that you love the channel, Valerie, and I love seeing you every time. Yeah, so it's really important to understand that the way, the mechanisms of how we cope, because really what it is, coping. We have so many different coping mechanisms, and it's just because we're not smoking, or drinking, or doing hard drugs or something like that, we feel like we're not in distress. But these are the ways that these things manifest itself. These are the ways that these things bleed into our lives. And I recognize that I had to do, it's a process. It's a process of first being able to admit and acknowledge that you're angry. And then from there, you have to kind of give your anger form. You know what I mean? You have to give it, because it has a life of its own. So it's really about bearing witness to your anger. And then once you bear witness to your anger and honor your anger, you can harness that energy to put towards other intentional pursuits within your life. You know what I mean? That's ultimately the goal. That was the goal of in the book that I tried to illustrate. In the book is about kind of rechanneling the energy that you already have that is inherent to you, because that is your power, and taking it from those self-destructive, generally destructive pathways and refocusing them to more intentional, positive, abundant pathways, or pathways that will bring you abundance. Understand? Let me check again because it's hard for me to see, so I have to lean in and read. She said, I cope in isolation. I think a lot of women do. Yes, a lot of women do. I remember, like, it was prior, this was really the moment when I decided I needed to write a book. I have a very good friend, and she was living somewhere, and I used to go visit her at her house. And she had a friend that she was working with at her job that didn't live too far from her. And she had her come over with her children, because we all had children. My friend had kids, I have kids. And the girl had kids, and the girl had, I think, like 3 kids. And she's younger than us, like significant, like 5 or 6 years younger than us. And I just remember she just had such a tired look to her. She was so tired, and like my friend was letting me know about her situation and how she was basically hung up on her baby father, when her baby father had already moved on, had a new girlfriend, was doing everything for the new girlfriend, was doing the bare minimum or less for the children, his children with her. But it was clear that she was still holding on and keeping his space open, so that one day he would wake up, like I said about me, wake up and realize and come back. So she wasn't living her life as if he had moved on. She was just waiting for him, and I remember looking at her, and I was just like, I need to get this out now, because I have been ruminating about, how do I get this message out? What do I do? What is this going to be? And I was just like, I just need to write this stuff down and get it out, because people like her need to be able to know that there is something else out here for you that's not him. You know what I mean? If this is what he is bringing you right now, you need to look elsewhere. But that is something that a lot of women do, where they're just like, I'm going to sit and I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for him to choose me. I'm going to wait for him to realize. I'm going to wait for him to value me the way I value him and the way I value our family and stuff. But she wasn't present. You know what I mean? Like she felt like a shell. And when I say felt like a shell, like being in her presence, she didn't feel like someone who was there. And I've been there in that detached place. You get what I'm saying? Because if you really sit and feel, if you really ground yourself in your experience, and not just in the experience, because a lot of times it ain't even the experience that's the worst part of it. It's recognizing that you have allowed it. That is the most heartbreaking, most maddening part, where you can go off the brink, is that realization that I did this. You know what I mean? I did this. I allowed this. I courted this. I asked for this. Whatever it is, however you want to put it. But just understanding that, like, you had a part, a really big part in what's going on with you, and having to reconcile that, right? Because the biggest gag and everything is that no matter how angry you are at somebody else, more than likely the part that's keeping you stuck is the anger you feel towards yourself. And think about it, because you're just like, okay, this person is doing these things to me, and I didn't ask for that, and I've been good to them, and I've been doing whatever, blah, 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 right? But you allowed it. You know what I mean? You allowed it. They did it that first time. You went back, or you let them come back. You know what I mean? It's really digging in and going, I could have ended this a long time ago. That's a hurt piece. that's really, really a hurt piece. And I'm talking about when it comes to, because like I said, there's layers upon layers of anger, and typically they're not where it begins. But when you're talking about dealing with a man, romantic relationships, baby father relationships, whatever, there's a certain level of autonomy that we do have as individuals at certain points where when you sit back and go, dang, I allowed this, I chose this, I courted this, whatever. It's a lot to reckon with, and it doesn't feel fair. That's why I say, I was talking to people earlier in, where is this? I was talking to people earlier and I was saying, like, I really resonate with certain types of characters, like Wanda Maximoff for WandaVision or whatever. Hold on, I'm about to share my screen. So like Wanda. And then there was another one. Yeah, this one. And this one's really interesting because when I talk about embodying your anger, and does this play? Can I watch it? I don't want to watch it because I don't want to mess up the thing and then I'll be all in a tizzy. But like embodying your anger, my anger looks like that. Like when I actually started becoming conscious that my anger was there, and then actually kind of getting quiet and doing the meditation and seeking out the form of my anger looks like that. My anger moves like that. She's ethereal. She's here, and then she's a smokes her way over to the other side of the room. That's what my anger looks like. And my anger is quiet and like Wanda, very powerful, can do a lot, but is holding back, is being reasonable. Like my anger is being reasonable. Where did I put it? She here somewhere. Hold on, I'll find it later on. That's how my anger operates. But I also wanted to because this is a Black centered channel, so I wanted to Tia Dalma. Yeah. It's giving Tia Dalma. That's what my anger is giving, right? And guess what? She's a bad bitch. My anger is a bad bitch. My anger is a bad bitch. You know why? Because my anger has been rocking out through all of these things, and she has sustained me. And the thing about my anger is I recognize that my anger is not destructive. My anger needs protection as well, because my anger is actually my inner child. And my anger is the manifestation of the pain and the trauma and the shock that my inner child experienced in trying to just experience this world like any other person and being preyed upon. You understand? And there's nothing wrong with being angry. It's natural. Hey, Kenny. How you doing? Valerie says isolating is also protecting self from emotional trauma. Women seek loneliness as protection. Yes, men seek bodies and spirits to feel up their loneliness. Yeah. Hey, Patty. True Mystique says mine can be I ain't gonna front. Thank you, London. Oh, I didn't post the book thing this time. I'll get it at some point during the thing and put it in there. I was too busy doing this. So it is what it is. But that that anger is your inner child, is your wounded inner child. And when you push that anger away, you're pushing away your inner child, and you're basically doing what the other people have done to the unhurt inner child. You get what I'm saying? That caused that. And so it's like the more and more you push her away, the less chill she get. You know what I mean? Like when I'm looking at my anger, like I said, she's there and she's moved, but she's there. I got her. We can talk. We can chit and chat. But when I'm ignoring her, she's here. She's there. She's everywhere. She's doing whatever. You get what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, that's her nature. As Tia Dalma said, I was obsessed with Tia Dalma. She says, "It's my nature." It is what it is. That's how it goes. So if you know that your anger's nature is either to be acknowledged and revered and shown respect, or to wreck shit, what you think you need to do? Like, what do you think you need to do? You might need to pay her a little attention. And that's a benefit to you, because when she's going out, when she's running amok, when she's causing chaos, that's when you get everything going every which way. That's when your relationships are breaking down. You know what I mean? You can't get right with nobody. Nobody's showing you the respect you feel like you deserve, right? Everything is on your nerves. Everything is rubbing you the wrong way. And usually it's an imbalance, because for every person that we may snap at, like our poor babies, there's other people who are poking at you, scratching at you, punching at you, that you're not returning the appropriate amount of said energy that they're giving. You get what I'm saying? So for instance, when we're talking about, not being able to get over your child's father, being in a relationship, dealing with a guy who's clearly showing you he doesn't want to be with you, but you continue to deal with that person, for everything that you ignore that they're doing, you are putting whatever energy that they deserve for the way that they're treating you, you're giving it to somebody else who doesn't deserve it. And you're giving it to the people 9 times out of 10, 9.99999 times out of 10 that are meeting you where you are and where you need. You're giving it to your friend who's always there for you, telling her to mind her business. She don't know him. She don't know what it's like when y'all lay together. You know what I mean? You're giving it to the baby who just needs and wants reassurance and comfort and love and attention, because you're pouring from an empty cup, because you've been pouring into a black hole. You know what I mean? Let me look at these. Hey, Jenny B. Confidence with Love says, we named her Warrior Love here. Anger is my personal heretic, practical protector, supreme. She can shed our humanity in my body. I love her and embrace her now. Yes. Yeah, you know what? And the funny part about it is, and I'm not saying it like to brag or anything like that. Like I said, it was literally one day I was just like, what are you? It was just a question when in my mind of like, what are you? Where are you? What do you look like? And like I said, and I saw her, and I saw that form of just that ethereal primal. That's what I called it, primal. She is primal. She is ancient. You know what I mean? And I know that she does not just belong to me, and she does not just live in me. And so that's why I'm here. You know what I'm like? That's why I'm here on YouTube, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I do what I do, because even from a very young age, I recognize that my experience is not unique. It is something that we're going through. And like I said earlier in this live stream, as I'm seeing, it's not just about single mothers. You know what I mean? It's about women in general. Patty says, is this the shadow side? Yes, she is my shadow. And I say she is my shadow because even as a child, And now I guess I'll get into where I recognize that this wasn't even about these niggas. This came from my childhood. I never thought of myself as angry, but I've been angry since I was about 10 years old. I can pinpoint my anger back to when I was 10 years old, the very moment that she formed. And it is my shadow side, because you see me, what is my brand? Oh, I'm happy. Yes, I can be fierce. Yes, I can talk, but generally I'm happy, I'm kind, I'm empathetic. I can talk to people. I'm patient. I won't say long suffering, but I have a bedside manner. You know what I mean? That is who I believe myself to be. That is who I thought I was. So I always I won't say I actively disassociated myself from anger. It's just not something I ever associated with myself. Did I get upset about things? Yeah, but in my mind, I was just like, oh, I never really have things that bother me for that long. You know what I mean? I'm pretty easygoing. That was my thought process of myself. If anybody asked me to describe myself, one of the first things I would say is easygoing. And generally that's true. But I recognize in integrating that shadow part of me, I am easygoing unless I see someone trying to take advantage of that easygoing nature, trying to siphon off the energy of that abundant entity that is also a part of me. You get what I'm saying? And then I become the warrior. Then I become the primal wrath. And I love that. And I love it. And it's giving. You know what I mean? Because that is how I was able to channel into this. That is how I was able to say, I need to be a voice of the people. I need to be a beacon, so that women can come and understand. No, sis, speak up. No, sis, you're not crazy. No, sis, emote. You get what I'm saying? In integrating her into the whole that is me. I was talking earlier, I did a get ready with me. I did a get ready with me when I was doing my makeup on my Instagram page for Level Up Single Mom. And I was talking about my LLC, which is Mixed Beauty. Mixed Beauty is what I originally, my business for my cosmetology, right? Minx is it said a flirtatious or impudent girl. That's the definition of a minx, which is basically like a pixie, somebody who is fun, flirty, bold. Yeah, just a high energy, fun, flirtatious girl, young spirit girl. You know what I mean? And that is my conscious interpretation of my personality. You get what I'm saying? But the thing about Minx Beauty is like the logo I made for Minx Beauty has a diamond in it. And the whole thing about Minx Beauty is that, manic pixie dream girl. Yeah, pretty much. And the whole thing about the diamond is that I believe we're multifaceted. We have different aspects of ourselves, right? And as you refine, just like any kind of precious gem that comes out of the ground, it doesn't come out the ground as the things that sit in our rings and our earrings and our jewelry and stuff. They're, I won't say misshapen, but they're irregular. They're very rough, but then they are refined into these, coveted jewels and gems and baubles. And so for me, I'm just like, okay, this is what I can help you do. I can help you refine yourself to be able to show off all of your facets, brilliantly at will. And I'm doing this like I got a ring on. I don't have a ring on. I'm brilliantly at will. That made me want to put my ring on. I got a special ring too. Anyway, and what I had to realize is that as I'm getting older, and like I said, as I'm embracing more, I'm actually getting to know those facets. You get what I'm saying? Like I was so focused on helping other people to kind of embody whatever it is that they think they aren't. I had to realize, like, I have pieces of myself. I never thought of myself as a fighter. I never thought of myself. I recognized from very early on I had a penchant for wanting to defend other people. Like if I saw somebody being bullied on the playground or something like that, I would be that person. But I'll tell you, that didn't feel like me per se. It felt like something moving through me. You get what I'm like? It felt like something that came from somewhere else, but it came through me. And I love it and I embrace it and I feel really alive when that happens. But that being said, I have to recognize that that is a gift that my creator gave to me. And it is mine. I do have ownership. And I do take ownership. And it's in the taking ownership that I have that power that comes with it. Because like I said, it's something ancient and primal. And it's mine to hold and it's mine to wield. And so when we're talking about anger and the stereotype of the bitter baby mom or the bitter Black woman, embrace it. You know what I mean? Like embrace your anger, embrace that, wear it as a badge of honor. Because like I said, I used to be so scared of being perceived and labeled as bitter. And I had to realize that I'm so busy trying to not come off as that thing, but I would be treated the same way either way. You know what I mean? Like I would be being treated the same way either way. So I'd rather be looked at, as a Wanda or an Enchantress or a Tia Dalma, because at the end of the day, they were in control of their destiny. They were in control of, what was going on with them and the direction that their lives were taking. And they didn't allow people to cross them and do them and take from them. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying, now mind you, because some people are really, really in their feelings about, especially the multiverse of madness. I'm not saying it's right to kill people. Okay, I'm not saying it's right to kill people. I'm not saying Wanda was right. She wasn't right. She was wrong. What I'm talking about is recognizing that you are powerful and recognizing that you can do shit. You know what I mean, for yourself, and you don't have to let anybody or anything stand in your way. Now, you shouldn't just hurt people like that, but you do need to take ownership of the power that you have. I'm extending an invitation to anyone that wants to come up. Valerie said, it's an alter ego. I don't look at it as an alter ego. I feel like when someone says it's an alter ego, that's still kind of like a disowning of it. Like, oh, when I'm that, I'm not me. You know what I mean? And I feel like, I guess the whole thing of alter ego is like a different persona. And that could be, but I'm in more of an integration mindset. It's all me. And the aspect of me that you need, like, this is all that makes up Quianna. It's part of the whole. You know what I mean? As opposed to a different thing all its own. Confidence with love. Hello. And Valerie. Hello. Hi.
Oh my gosh, I love seeing you here.
How you
Hey, I love seeing you here. This is wonderful. Thank you for
How's
inviting me.
everything? Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi. I'm gonna let Confidence with love go first, and then I'm gonna let you go, Val. Okay.
Okay, I'm a mute.
I am 100% with you. 100%. I think having been a single mom, the first time I was 23 when I had my son. And fortunately, I had become an RN at 20 years old because I went to school early, right? But I didn't know that his father had a whole other family going on. And I'm quite like what you described, right, Mary, which is I can pinpoint where um, that part of me disassociated.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a lot of therapy in from in adulthood to get back through the childhood. And I think that's something that we just have to take very seriously, is that um, our mental illnesses that come from trauma are real. And just like if you were to break your arm, you would go to the doctor and be examined and get it checked out, right?
Yeah.
That's what you do with a therapist, you know. And we got the opportunity to go back through, and we found the places in which I disassociate. So
Mm-hmm.
I was always trying to do just what you're saying, which is, you know, keep the monster down, because
Mm-hmm.
I'd be angry all the time. And I feel like wrath is my personal demon. Thank you very much. We love her here. But she protected us. She protected me. She stood up to everybody in my family, or, people who were my friends and were kind of brought up the same way I was as a Black woman,
Mm-hmm.
and just said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to shed humanity. You want to do the most with over here? Not going to happen. I'm shutting all that down. So no one was ever able to mutilate my children emotionally, spiritually, physically. You know,
Yeah.
no one was able to eviscerate them in school. No one was able to do any of those things. But the most important thing I found out is that I had to protect them with me and my kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because everything I do would affect everything about them. So it was
Yeah.
important, and it was important for a child, both of my kids, into therapy as well, because I know I have mental illness. And to admit to that out loud is very difficult, but it is the most honest and authentic thing that I can do in order to keep evolving. Because I don't know enough, and I need to know more. That's why I need all of you, because you know so much more. And I can see things through your eyes too when you speak and pronounce and verbalize. So
Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah, we have to, because in sitting with it, like I said, and it wasn't even a thing, it wasn't a conscious decision of like, oh, I'm angry, but I'm just not going to think about that right now. It was more so a just, oh, I don't want that person to be mad at me, or oh, I don't want these people to look at me that way, or I don't want that person to think that they got me being bitter and I'm living my best life. And it doesn't show up like a calculated, calm decision to just kind of take this piece of yourself and put it to the side. It's just like, ah. And in doing all of that, when you do eventually burn out, you're amongst the ashes. Everything around you is broken, everything around you is chaotic, and then it feels even worse. I spoke about a hole, feeling like you dug yourself into a hole, and it's just like running in place. And now you're even lower in the ground because you've been kicking up all this dirt from underneath you. So, where you're not going, you're not getting anywhere. But I'm definitely with you. Thank you so much, Confidence with Love. I love that you come here because I know you about this life. I'm gonna go ahead and let Valerie speak, and you can stay up if you like. You don't have to get all confidence.
The general nice person thing. Like I have always been like I feel like I've always been like a nice person. Like
mhm,
in general. I don't know if that comes from religion or whatever. So and I try to be like a nice person and do it unto others. And also I always feel like in giving my anger, I give my power. So that's why sometimes like I used to have a policy, like 24 hours, I'm over it. Like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, when you try to get over things so fast, you might not be dealing with the problems that you actually have because you're like, okay, I want to get over it. So, I mean, I know that I've always had like an angry side. So sometimes when people say, oh, you're nice, I hear them saying I'm nice. But sometimes I wonder if people are saying you're nice because they think you're a sucker. And I don't know if that's part of my 80s baby person. That's like I'm nobody's sucker. Like, no. But I tend to generally be nice. But I do feel like when I go to the other side, I believe everybody has a snap. Like everybody. Everybody has a point of contention. Like, when people say, I hear a lot of men say like, oh, women are not feminine. And I was femininity has nothing to do with it, actually. And I personally feel like if you don't have a barrier to protect you from the evils of the world, then that's when you really get swallowed up. So you have to. So it's funny when I hear men say like, you're not feminine because, but at the same time, if you were too feminine, then they'll be like, oh, you friendly with all these guys. So it doesn't really balance out, right? You can't be friendly with everybody. Not everybody deserves your friendliness, right? And I think as young girls, sometimes we're so taught to be so nice, so nice, so nice. And then that's why when we get older, we're not prepared for people being evil. Like, I know that people are evil. Personally, I believe that some people are truly evil. But I think what happens is when people switch onto evilness to you, you don't see it coming. And then you're like, no, that's not really what's going on. Well, maybe it's something else. And you start rationalizing it. And then you make your nice self go, but like, oh, well, maybe if I do this or maybe if I do that. But then you get to a point where you explode. So that's why I personally, now that I'm older, I really try to cut things out that I don't accept as soon as they come. Because I already know that if it laps on for a long time, my mean side is actually like I'm a formidable person.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not even like, and I've been in a position before where people have been mean to me and then I snap. And I usually wait, right? I can see that the meanness is coming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And you don't think I'm observing you because I'm laughing, but I really am. And I'm really pinpointing all your weaknesses. I know everything about you, your work, your family, everything. So now that I know them and I know that you're still coming at me this way and I've given you multiple chances, then I get to a point where I take my words and I crush your spirit. And then I feel bad about crushing your spirit. So it's
Just
because
now,
I'm, yeah,
you
then
know what? You're
because after you're
absolutely
mean, then
right.
you're like, oh my God, I feel bad I was mean. You know what I mean? I don't know, maybe because I am an empathetic person in general. So I do feel bad afterwards because I'm someone who believes in penitence and also I feel like, why did I have to turn my disposition because that person because I'm there, right? If I would have, so now I'm learning like remove myself so I don't have to be that disposition. That doesn't have to be my disposition, right? It's my choice to stay in the position, and that's probably why, like after like getting separated and everything, some of my anger is towards me. It is towards me because it's like, you know what? I tolerated past my threshold, and I
Yes.
shouldn't even tolerate it to my threshold.
Right.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's like, why did I even like some people? Some people are like, oh, you should try and see if you could stay as long as possible, and that's not really a good thing. You should really know that this is something in 2 years, 1 year, you're not going to be able to tolerate. So just stop and remove
Because
yourself and go to the part that fits you.
there's no way anybody else is going to know you better than you know you. And I think what people don't realize, and what I've come to kind of realize about myself and also other people, is that you're inadvertently setting people up to be villains in your life. Like
That
that's
is
what
true.
I was like some months ago. I distinctly remember saying to myself, and it was right before like a bunch of crazy crap happened, and like people wound up my life, my circle started shifting. I was just like, I don't want any more villains in my life. I'm going to start paying attention to the way people are making me feel, and I'm not going to make excuses for people, and I'm just going to have to move accordingly. I'm going to have to stop valuing um certain relationships, or evaluate what I'm valuing certain relationships based on. And if it don't align with what it is that I believe I'm about, I'm going to, even no matter how long I've been friends with that person, no matter how well they feed my ego, whatever it is, I'm not going to let it get to the point where I'm going to be carrying a bunch of anger and pain and whatever with me into that next phase.
I think we have to be unprogrammed, like, because at a young age for girls, we're taught like you have to be nice, you have to be kind, and then you have all these like, waiting for your prince, or you got to stand by somebody's side, and you don't realize as you're standing by that person's side, you're tilting.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you realize you're tilting, then you jump up like a demon, and then you're like, "Why did I stay there so long?" That was the point to which I should have left the stage. Because sometimes I do get like we don't inherently see things, right? People do present themselves in a convoluted way,
Yeah.
or maybe we might have different faces. But it's like then once you do see the sign, like I think something I want to teach my daughters is when you see the sign, stop thinking about, well, I've already been here for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. Let me see if I could. You're just not in alignment, and that's okay. Like,
And that's
you-
okay.
yeah, you have to pivot, and that's okay. And then you could be more true to who you are.
Mm-hmm. And it's more what's really important too is understanding, like when we go back to that whole being angry at yourself part, it's understanding that, like you said, you see these things, and like you just said, something like sometimes you don't know, and you don't know, and you don't know because you weren't taught to look at people to see how they might be harming you, right? Because the assumption is if we're in collaboration together in building this experience together, then both of us are here because we want to be here and in positivity. So why would I be looking for, manipulation in you if I already chose to engage with you to this degree, right? And I think that it's complicated because it's like when you get angry at yourself because you're like, okay, I stayed past my threshold. You understand it. You also throw it in, I should have known. No, there's nothing wrong with you not knowing because you're moving in positivity. That part, keep that part. But when you recognize that other part, like you said, is not aligned with where you are and where you're coming from, that's when you go, okay, no, no, no. You're on mute. You're muted. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't think, sadly, I think a lot of women, and I think society doesn't give women grace for being naive and innocent. Like, I think people assume naivete and innocence is only allocated to an age, but it's not. It's actually allocated to what you've been exposed to. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, what I've been exposed to is, okay, a guy stays with his family. There's certain things that he would never do to his family, to his wife. So, and then I'm assuming that you come into my circle and you would understand that, but I don't realize that you come from a different place. It's not because we're black and we share skin that we have the same morality,
Yeah.
or we say have the same principles. And this is why, like, I tell people now, like, I am not race loyal. I am womb loyal. I'm loyal to my womb and to myself.
Yeah.
I think once you start entering into race loyal, then you start entering into cultish ways, right? Because really, in my mind, as I've observed men over time, I think they're more loyal to their penis. They're not really loyal to what they're not really loyal to the race, right? Because if we would say that, okay, in the black community, black men are loyal to a race, and all these rich men would be married to black women, and it's not true. It's predicated on a sense of idea idealisticness that is not really present. It's like we're in a mirage in our brain of what it should be, what it's not, but yet it's not actually what it is. You have to be loyal to your womb, whether that's your decision to have children, to not have children, because all of that, like, us being us being creators of life and then rearing a whole human being to be prepared for life, that takes a lot of emotional sustenance. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot. So now you're giving out that from your emotions, but then where is that to be reciprocated to yourself? Because you can't give out you can't keep on giving and not being reciprocated. And that's why for me, I tell people, like, I appreciate being a woman in that way, because women really give each other a sense of caring and love. And I told someone, like, they talk about the loneliness for men, but men's loneliness is really something that came before a relationship, right? It had nothing to do with you having a mate, because there's a lot of married men that are lonely in a marriage. So it had to be something internal. And I think for us as women, when we present, like, I think back to when I was younger, and I remember my happiness. You know what I mean? Like if you're fortunate to have like a family,
Yeah.
father, and like, I literally remember being so happy as a girl.
I say all the time, I'm like, I was so privileged because when I got into the world and I started talking to other people and I'm hearing their experiences growing up, and I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible, and I'm crying for their experiences. And I'm like, well, shit, I was loved every single day. I had 3 meals a day. I never knew no lights. I never knew no food.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, it's poor, and we poor. We poor black people in the hood, but I was privileged.
I've actually been through different levels of society. My
Mm-hmm.
parents came here. My dad back in his home country was a doctor. When he
Mm-hmm.
came here, I literally remember my dad going through medical school, my mom working, but I also had like a big family, right? I also had like homemade baked cakes, like for my party
Mm-hmm.
every summer. I also had cousins watching me. I had my uncle helping me with math. Like, there's so many more things that I had that made me happy, that
Yeah,
had nothing to do with
material
fornication. Like,
or
I
the
think people are associating fornication with connection, and connection comes before fornication. It comes with the courting, the getting to know someone, to understand someone. And then I think if people are honest with what they want to align, I think what happens with a lot of men is that they're not honest. First of all, they don't know themselves to be honest. And then they're not honest with what they need to align with. Like, in my mind, some men really do want just something that is sexual, you know? But they don't really say that. They kind of want to use the nice girl, the pretty girl. You should get you a nice girl. Well, if you get you a nice girl, then, maybe everything will come together. Well, if you get you a nice girl, she'll raise your family. And it almost comes off like we become a tool,
yeah.
right? You become like a screwdriver, and you're not a human being. Guess what? The nice girl would like a nice person too. you know it shouldn't be that I'm balancing out your evil. It should be that's something that you worked out in yourself.
Right. And guess
Take
what?
it
And
out.
then if you let me be balanced, guess what? I can be nice and I can be freaky. I can be nice and we can do some things. Like but they, and I call it fracturing. And that's the perfect analogy, is that idea of you and me have to be different because I'm a man and you're a woman, and as a man, I ain't gotta be fucking Lucifer himself. And as a woman, you gotta get up on the cross for me. You gotta get up on long suffering for the family. Like, no, I'm a person. I have, like I said, multifaceted, and I need me a multifaceted man as well. I'm gonna. Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I don't think that people realize to be. This is something that I realized afterward. Like, I probably always realized that is, you can't really be an effective wife, an effective mom, if you're not happy. Like, when I thought everything was going according to plan, I can honestly say who I was as a mother then and now. I was better then. Like, and that's something a lot of people probably might not want to say, right? I was better then because I felt like I had the support that I needed. Once it started going astray, then it became a problem. But like, when men say, well, my baby mother is this, or my ex-wife is this, but they don't understand, like, they messed up the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't say that you're honestly gonna be as full with as much resources when you don't have them. You could be a different thing. You can be different, but even from the perspective of the child, like, my daughter saying things like, "Mom, I I really miss, like, I really wish we could be a family." it's not even that I want to get back with the person, because I really don't, right? The trauma makes me not, but the pain of my child not experiencing what it means to have a dad, and for that person to feel like they themselves are invalid, because really you invalidated yourself, right? You're the person that took yourself out the equation. Like somebody told me, like, well, you left your husband and you caused the friction. I'm like, I didn't leave my husband. He left in his spirit and his soul a long time ago. That had nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
Just because just because you're a body, a piece of thermal energy next to me, doesn't mean you're present. It's two totally different things.
Absolutely, it doesn't. And like I said, that's a Jill Scott song. I'm lonely whenever you're around. It makes you feel worse because it's like being haunted. You know, it's like, okay, your body's here. I want the rest. And if you don't want to give me the rest, that's fine. Go where your head is at. Go where your spirit wants to be. Mango woman.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. So, anger. It has been a running theme in my life. Um, like she was talking about, like I've always been like the quiet kid, kind of just loving and sharing. But I think that comes from a trauma response because I feel like people didn't really, excuse the baby if you
Okay. I love the babies here.
hear. People didn't really like listen or acknowledge or hear my opinion and stuff like that. So I just took it as, well, if I'm nice, they gotta be nice. They won't do anything disrespectful of me because like I'm not like that. So
Right.
they're not gonna be like that.
Right.
So that's how I think I protected myself as a younger person from all the bull crap that was happening around me. Just too many traumas to go into. But as I grew older, that resentment, that frustration started happening in my long-term relationship. Um, Literally, he moved in, the housing market crashed, his parents moved in, the father and the mother didn't like say when they were leaving what the plan. I started panicking and I would have like these nightmares. But I would feel ashamed to say, hey guys, I know it's a crisis and I allow you to stay here, but like when you're leaving, I was too scared. I felt like culturally, like you don't talk to adults about stuff like that. They're supposed to come to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was scared
Oh
that they
yeah, because
didn't.
you had your babies young.
Yeah, I did. So I was like super scared because they were living with me and they're not on my leave. And I'm having all these nightmares and I'm scared. I'm crying. But when I'm around them, it's like everything is perfect. Like I didn't know how to express fear, anger, frustration.
You didn't know you had permission.
I didn't know I had permission. I didn't know it was something that I could do.
Yeah.
And it literally took me like my last trauma bonded narcissistic relationship. And I think I spoke about it a little bit with you before. Like it took that, like experiencing such a horrible human being to like almost snap me into reality. Like, no, the world, it's not nice. Not everybody has your best interests at heart. Like it took that for me to then like go back into myself and just relive and remember like all the time I just allowed people to walk over me, and I'm talking about in my own family and so on and so forth. Even my own daughter, because I have a 21-year-old, she was making food for me because I'm doing keto now, and I said, I don't remember. Oh, no breadcrumbs. I didn't want any breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Don't put it in my food because I'm trying to do this keto thing. And she was like, okay. Then I come back, she get breadcrumbs in my food. So I start freaking out. Like
Yeah.
literally, I'm like, why would you put breadcrumb? Breadcrumb, I
Yeah.
can't believe it. You didn't listen to me. I said this and you didn't listen to me. Why did you? And I'm like watching myself
Yeah.
doing this tantrum. And
You're
I'm
like,
like,
what is this?
Yeah. I'm like, what is this? And I kept repeating, you don't listen to me. You never listen to me. And she's just looking at me like, what is wrong with you? So then I said to myself, I was like, oh my God, I'm having a tantrum like a 2-year-old. Like I have to step away. And I went in my room and this tear just came down and I just started crying. And it reminded me of people not listening to me. Sam, stop yelling. It reminded me of just people just not listening, not hearing me. Okay.
That's when he's like, Mom, you're getting a little too deep. This is too much about you, not enough about me.
Exactly. And not like I came out of it and I apologized and I told them it was because like I think as a child nobody really heard me or understood me. And that was where that came from. And she was like, geez, I could have made you another one. Right? So it's just been like that. And then like I learned through, anger management, like those little voices in your head, like when the kids are just being snatchy, that's what I call it. And they're not listening to anything you have to say. And you in your voice be like, look at these kids, they think I'm dumb. They think I'm dumb. Huh? They gonna see when I get angry, I'm gonna have a reaction for them. Right? I'm counting like I'm not stupid. I know how to mother. They think they could get over me. And all this time, they're not even like paying you attention. But in your head, you think if you don't do this right and do this perfectly, people is going to think you're a bad mom. Right? People's going to think you're a bad mom. And because you're doing this by yourself, you know what the manosphere said. It's the women fault for raising all these horrible children. So you're battling this thought process, this outside voice, and just trying to navigate every day, right? For me, that part of my anger has been okay, you're yelling right now. Why are you yelling? Why are you yelling? Step back. And sometimes I have to say, I'm yelling. I'm having a tantrum. I'll come back to you. I have to say that. I have to say, I don't know what I'm yelling, but something is making me mad. And then I came back. I told my daughter, I was like, when I'm talking nice, I find that you guys are not listening to me. So then I start yelling. Then you guys start doing what you do. And then it put me in this circle rhythm. So now I'm like, all right, I need to do some more research on some parenting skills, some other stuff to throw in there. I find that when I meditate, I can be a little bit more calmer, a little bit more relaxed. And I'm able to be like, look, this is your first warning. I don't like how you're making me feel. I feel like, you're human enough to understand what your behavior is and why, I need you to do better and do differently.
Right.
So I'm able to approach it that way. But during the times when it's just like stop and go is what I call it. Like we're just going from one thing to the next. It like there's this camp event, there's this school doing this, and hair needs to be done, and food shopping, and laundry, and cleaning, and it's just like, look, man, we can't breathe. Let's just do this. That's when I feel like it's harder to reach for those skills and use those type of coping mechanisms that help you.
Well, the thing is, it's amazing, one, that you're even being able to catch it now. You know what I mean? Because I can remember just being on autopilot and it just is what it is, but being able to catch it and then being willing to go back and say, hey, I know I was acting, or even in that moment, like you said, you're saying, I don't know what's going on with me, because guess what? You're teaching them to know, just like we have to come here as grown ass women and sit and go, you know what, this isn't weird, or this isn't a one-off, or this doesn't make me crazy. This is part of the human experience. You're showing them this is part of the human experience. So when you get angry and you don't know what to do, it doesn't mean that you're deficient in any way. It's part of being human. Sometimes you got to figure it out, and it's okay if you get a little brazy while you're doing that. You can always apologize, and I'm always going to be here, and you're always going to be here, and we're okay.
Yep, it's true. It's a learning experience. And I learned that, because it took years for me to get here, I have to be patient with myself. I really have to, like, I think understanding, because I was telling my sister this, I said, I think I finally got the scope, the level in which it takes to be a good mom. Like I finally understand it. I just used to do it. I didn't calculate it. I didn't think about it. I just did it. But now that I'm like, okay, we get up in the morning, clothes is out, breakfast is made, dinner, hey, like I'm like, oh, and you got to make time to talk to them and make sure you're checking in. Like, this is a lot. This
It
is
is.
a lot to do by myself. And then I find myself looking back like, damn, how did you do this to yourself? Like all of this, you didn't understand this much work it takes. And now you're
Yeah.
here and you have to do this alone. And then I find myself just crying, like, poor me. And then I have to say, like I used to be like, oh, you're so dumb. I can't believe you did that.
Yeah.
And I have to be like, no, gentle,
Mm-hmm.
be gentle to yourself. Be gentle to yourself. You cannot learn what you didn't know to what you know now. Can I finish
I know
talking?
that's right, baby. What else you
Okay.
gotta say? Hi.
So like just being gentle with myself and guiding myself through those like down moments, and being able to understand that, pace yourself, one step at a time. And that's the only grace I can offer when it gets that difficult for myself.
Mhm. That's, I mean, truly, that is the long and the short of it. You have to start with yourself. And one thing I really like, you were talking about that internal talk, that really mean internal talk. I had to recognize that the way I was talking to myself was the way that I was talking to my child. Because if when I need direction, guidance, comfort, support, I can't muster it to give it in a nurturing way to myself, how the heck am I going to have it for her? Because we in a cold world. You know what I mean? So if I'm not getting it from me, where am I getting it from? And that was a complete game changer. When I got pregnant with my second child, I was just like at a point, I was so ashamed of myself. And I acknowledged that. And I sat with that. And I said, you know what? Okay, we've been through this before. So we already know all the beats, right? How about we skip all that, self depreciation, was it depreciation? And we go to the forgiveness part and we start from there, and we forgive ourselves and we love ourselves and we embrace the joy of the situation and all the good things that are coming. We focus on those stuff. And I had a completely different mothering experience with my youngest child than I had with my oldest child. And that's not a testament to her. It's not her fault. It was my fault because I was looking at it as a punishment, and I was looking at it as a shame, and I was looking at it as a burden, as opposed to, this is a circumstance brought on by some choices that I made, and this is the reality, and I'm going to make the best. I'm going to extract the best from it, because there's just as much good as there is bad. But it's about where you're going to look at and what you're going to, value in the situation. And so you are a testament. We're all up here a testament. You, at any time, you can choose to make a different choice, to go a different way. Like I said, to extract the power from this avenue, which is feeding the chaos in your life, and plug it into this avenue that's going to feed your creativity, that's going to feed your accomplishment, that's going to feed your health, that's going to feed your mothering skills, that's going to feed your sensuality, that's going to feed all of those things that create the best, most happy, most sumptuous and luscious life experience. Because I'm in a luscious new phase. I turned 37, and I realized I want to have a fine 40s. Once I get to my 40s, I want to be fine from my 40s on. So I'm going to focus on eating delicious, nutrient rich meals, and getting exercise and sunlight, and just really taking care of myself. And you can do that at any point when you recognize you haven't been.
And I feel like also with that comes just I had to recreate like boundaries, like what that means.
Mm-hmm.
I had to like shuffle people in my life. And I literally called everybody when I was going through it. I was like, look, I'm taking 2 months from me. You're not gonna hear from me. I'm not gonna call you, but I'm well. And when I was ready, I called everybody. I reintroduced myself. I said, if you're going to do something for me, do it from the bottom of your heart. Not because you think I'm going to do it back for you or because I owe you something. And if you ask me to do something for you, and if I can do it, I will do it. If I cannot, I will say no. And it's no slight to you. And I told this to all of my friends. My closest friend, who was like my family, I lost her because she felt like she didn't want to. Because I said, you can't just call me all hours. Hi, Sam. You can't just call me all hours for us to be on the phone. Like,
Yeah.
text me, hey, are you free? And then, I'll pick up the phone. It's just me. And the reason why I did that, it's not, I was trying to push her off. I just needed to build new boundaries. Maybe I would have been like, okay, she's my best friend, whatever, along the line.
Mm-hmm.
But at first, I needed it to be like strong and clear. So then I can know what I'm comfortable with and what I'm not comfortable. Because it's the first time in my life I'm doing that, I mean, my own mother, I had to tell her, I was like, she was used to getting money from me every year. And I had to say, look, mom, I'm cutting down your allowance because I'm only income with these guys here. My children got accepted into private school. So that means I still have to pay some money out now.
Mm-hmm.
And once I had the baby, I was like, my expenses went up. So you can't get that $3,000 you used to get from me no more. Like, I'm sorry.
How
I'm gonna.
much and how often?
That was like once, twice a year type of thing.
Oh wow.
And I was just like, look, I'm not doing it again. I'm sorry. Like, I have to put this money back into my household to where I need it. Culturally, it's like your African parents, they have you, they feel like they're entitled to what you make and what you got, because I mean, though, you struggle to do it yourself and they weren't there, they still feel entitled to that. So I had to let my mother know, like, no, this is where it is, this is where I am, and accept it or leave it. With my friends, my family, like even my own children, I'm like, look, I'm an individual too. I get to have time for myself. I get
Yeah.
to do things just for me. That doesn't include y'all. There's going to be time for y'all. But when I tell you, like, I just want to be in my room, watch a brother, I'm going to go, like, take a nap for an hour or two. I'll be back.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. And wherever else you want, when you guys, because we get to vote on what activity and events and family stuff we do together, that's when you guys get an input. So
Yeah.
it took that horrible experience to get me here. Like, oh gosh.
I mean, yeah, you don't, especially when you think back of like how were you, can any of us on the panel say that we were parented in a way, and it's not about good parenting or bad parenting, but when you
Mhm.
parented in a way where you saw your parent living the way that you want to live now. Like nobody,
No,
I would.
nobody.
I can say that.
Sorry.
I
no,
mean,
You
I
can say
know
that?
my
Oh,
parents.
no, not at all. The
I,
relationship experience alone was abusive and
but
oh,
you
yeah,
know something? You've been at it for a longer time. What'd you say, confidence?
I can say it in peace.
Mm-hmm.
So, the reality is that my parents, my mother was a psychopath and my father was a sociopath. This is not something we admit in Black families.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is, you know?
Yeah.
So I was born to be a monster. My
Mm-hmm.
mother gave me to my grandmother, who she and my grandfather were dedicated to me for 8 years of my life. So I only
Mm-hmm.
saw my parents every so often. They lived in New Jersey. I lived in North Carolina with and I lived on an island. So I'm Gullah Geechee and learned so much
Mm.
from,
It's a,
yeah, well,
I don't now. I'm not, versed in it, but we just recently found out like my mom and my aunt and uncle and stuff did some digging. So we
girl,
found out we're Gullah Geechee.
girl, you gotta come. You have to, you do. You have to come look at your roots because it's so very powerful. Everybody else trying to get over here to find about your roots.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you rebottle it and give it back to you, and you already are born with it, you know?
Hmm.
So yeah, I had that, but my parents came and got me when I was about 8, and they brought me all the way over to California. And I remember my safest spaces all the time with my grandparents. Like everything was so, just when your mother and father are dedicated to you,
Yeah.
oh, you could just go outside skipping
Yeah.
because they're surrounding you.
Hmm.
They're surrounding you with love. They're surrounding you with discipline. They're surrounding you with cultivating you, learning you, bringing out the best in you,
Hmm.
helping you control your own behaviors, these different things. So, upon balance, even though I was 8 when I came to live with my parents, they were just dumb to me. I was just like, y'all
This is
are
just the. Well, when I
because
say like, did you have it? Because I have the similar experience as far as my grandparents were my parents. They
yeah,
instilled in me a love of myself. So
yeah,
that's why I say I'm privileged. I'm privileged because of the environment that I was cultivated in because of them. However, when it comes to financial things, when it
yeah,
comes to honoring myself while also um being a parent and stuff, because when I think about, they gave me so much because they gave it all to me.
yes,
And so when I say someone that you can look at and go, I'm going for that, you know
yeah.
what I mean?
That's
I
it.
like,
Or
I'm going for that. I want that to
yeah,
be what my life looks like. I don't have that, not because they're bad. That's why I was wanted to say, like,
yeah.
it's not because they're bad parents or
No,
anything like that,
you
but they aren't able to show me what it is I'm going for, because I want to be firing on all cylinders. I want to be a good
yeah,
mother, and I
Mhm.
want to be good to myself. And what does
I
that look like?
like I do
yeah,
feel like my parents have good and bads in
Hmm.
terms of like my mom is very much like 1950s. I'm always looking good. My hair's always done. Actually, I even my aunts were like that, and I don't know if that was just Haitians of that time
Hmm.
before like the destruction of the country. It's like all the, like I literally remember my aunts doing each other's hair, like and doing my hair and pressing my hair and getting their nails done. And actually, I remember my mom said, "Do you have my?" Actually, I remember once my mom was like, I was married, and she's like, "Are you making sure that before you go to sleep, that you go and take a shower and take care of yourself?" And I'm like, "Why would you even tell me that? I've been doing that since I was in my head. I didn't say that because I would be
Yeah.
disrespectful." And she was like, "You have to make sure to keep yourself up." The only thing is, she said for your husband, but I don't think that was. My parents are generally the type of people that keep themselves up. Like my dad is a I wear suits all the time type of person. My mom is a, okay, I filing my nails type of person. And I
Hmm.
even remember, even though my father was a cheater, but the good side of my father is that he is the type of person to be like, I got you flowers, and I or I would be like, oh, where's my mom and my dad to my aunt, and they're like, oh, they went out to dinner,
Oh.
stuff like that. I do remember those things. And actually, to be quite honest, my husband was also cheated, but that part, like, that part he had is kind of weird. And
Hmm.
that I married my dad, which I don't know how that happened because I actually was like,
You
I never
don't?
want to.
That's
I
the plan. That's the way they have it set
Yeah,
up.
and I'm like, I never want to marry my dad because even though my dad did those things, it didn't negate the fact that you slept with her best friend. You see what I'm saying? Like that part makes it kind of that's the toxic part that I didn't want. But I do like the funny thing is sometimes when you do come from men that are a bit of the vagabond, they kind of instill this like you have to hold yourself a certain way. So certain kind of men don't you're not attracting certain kind of men, right? I
But
think
you
they're
are a
afraid.
certain kind of man.
Yeah, but there some vagabonds, even though they're vagabond, they're afraid for their daughters to be with somebody like them. That crazy part. And that's why, when you hear a lot of guys talking about high standards, I think that some of the women with the most high standards come from fathers who were in relationships with their mothers that were not the best. Like, they can acknowledge that they were not the best. I think this generation doesn't acknowledge that some of the things they're doing is actually wrong, which is, I know my father really knows that he was wrong. Like, now I spoke to my dad and he said something to the lines of, when I was younger, I thought that I could have a wife and have concubines, and that's not idealistic. That's a dream world. Like, I know that he can logically say that that's wrong. Whereas with my husband, he's like, oh, men have been doing this for a long time, and you need to just accept that. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Because I'm not really okay with worrying about my pH balance every month. That's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's
Right.
some
And then
real,
they'll hold it on you. Like, if your pH balance gets knocked off, he'll say, oh, you're a funky bitch.
you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't talk about that in a relationship, whether you're married or not. It doesn't really matter. If you are saying that you're committing to a relationship, because the covenant and the bond comes without even the paper, you know what I mean? It's just a commitment. So if you're going to commit to that person and you're sharing a life with that person, no one talks about the praying that your tests come back regular. You know what I mean? Or no one talks about, well, you know what? Maybe we are having fertility issues. It could be because you have STDs that you've gotten. Like, those are real ramifications of things. Like, being sick from the inside first, it does happen. Like, people think it just, oh, well, it just happens, it's okay. And even vice versa, right? It also shows a lack of your own self-care as a man, that you would put yourself in so many different ecosystems without protection of yourself. Like, where's your own standard boundaries and expectations for
But that
yourself?
goes back, and mind you, we talk all the time about how much anger and vitriol these men have for us. But we also tonight talking about being upset at yourself
Yeah.
for the positions that you're putting yourself in, for the things that you're putting up with, and courting. That's why I say the word courting, because with us, with the women, we put up with stuff. You know what I mean? We court, but not in the same way that the men court, because they go out thinking, oh yeah, this is how I want to get down, because this is being a man. You know what I mean? And they'll fight you tooth and nail to say this is the way it's supposed to be, but their life is in shambles.
The other part too is, I think that as moms, something we don't talk about is, I was married long enough that my daughter picked up some bad habits on how to disrespect me. Like, I was talking to my daughter and I was helping her. I was doing her hair and I'm asking her a question, and she like looked down, rolled her eyes, and I'm like, who are you talking to? So now because I'm already at this limit because
Yeah.
of the trauma I was already in, I had already decided now that anybody who comes and tries to do whatever said action, and I feel those triggers, I'm shutting it down. So then that's where I get to this yell thing, and I realize that, and I'm like, I thought that yesterday. I'm like, I can't be surprised. I told my mother-in-law, I can't be surprised that my daughter disrespected me, because I literally remember my husband disrespecting me in front of my kid. So that example was already set. So now at the age of, now my kid's 11, I have to reprogram her in how she communicates in general, how she receives loves in general, because she shuts down. That's what she does. And it's literally, I have two kids. One of them is like more like me, and the other one is like just like their dad. And I don't think people realize that your kids are swallowing every bit of toxicity, that whether it's coming from you or the parent. You know what I mean? And now I'm starting to think like, I feel like it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle of me trying to get these non-communicative, somewhat cold nature that my other kid has. She generally has it. And I'm like, and I told her the other day, I said, at the end of the day, you choose who you let in your life, and you choose who not to let in your life. I could want to be in your life as much as I want, and I'm your mother. But if you don't want to let me in, if you don't want to let your grandmother in, That decision at the end of the day is on you. And you might find that you're letting people in that shouldn't be in. And
Yeah.
the ones that you should let in, you're not. And that, and my mom said, well, that's something I shouldn't be telling her. But I said, that's not true. I think kids understand emotion. Like, they understand what it is to require love and emotion. Like, when my daughter just, she's like forming now, and she was on the floor and she was with cramps. The first person she called was me. And she's like, mommy, and she was crying on the floor, and I'm rubbing your back. I'm giving you the Advil, and I'm giving you the leave. And I told her that. I said, you see how you expect me to be present for you emotionally? If I'm not telling you to be present for everybody, but for those that present themselves in a loving way for you, you have to equally give that same attention.
Reciprocal. Yeah.
It's
And that includes me.
Yeah.
And that
It's
includes,
not,
like, you don't have to be my mother, but you do have to watch how you treat me.
yeah, because love, like, I can be your mom. Like, a lot of people don't say that, right? I can be your mom, and I have an obligation, and I'm doing things for you. Something totally different for us to build a relationship. And if we're
Yes.
building a
Yes.
relationship, you have to build it with me. You
With
have to understand.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to realize, like, yeah, you know what? You're sad. Like, I told my daughter, you see things. What I noticed, and this is something that she picked up, I'm like, why do you think your grandmother says, wow, they don't want me here? She's saying that because you're somehow expressing to her, whether non-verbally, that you don't appreciate her presence, even though she sits here, she makes food for you. You do. I was like, don't become an unappreciative person. I was like, living that life will leave you lonely. That means that you're lonely on the inside. I'm
Yeah.
not saying to allow everybody in, but who is vital, who counts, who makes effort, that you do have to allow in.
Yeah.
And that's where the loneliness, even for us, like, outside, because probably we've been so traumatized that we don't even want to allow people in either.
No. No, and it's really important. I love that you spoke about how you had to let her know, like, this mother daughter thing is a relationship, and a relationship requires work from both parties. So, like, if you want to give the bare minimum, we can do that. You know what I mean? I can give you 3 hots and a cot. Or if you want to have that warmth and you want to really have that rapport and that camaraderie and that intimacy, then I'm going to require you to respect my boundaries. I'm going to require you to respect my rules. I'm going to require you to understand that because I'm carrying the load in this relationship, even though this is a reciprocal relationship, I understand that my responsibility in terms of external things outside of the energy exchange is way more than yours is, but that also carries weight. So I'm going to need you to move a certain way. If I tell you don't go there, because the ramifications of how it'll affect me are way more than how it'll affect you. And if I go down, we all go down. You know what I mean? So understanding those dynamics and understanding, the nature of the collective and all of that stuff, it's important to give them that responsibility as a younger person, because then you'll have a person growing up and going out into the world and starting new relationships, I believe, with a balanced foundation, as opposed to just me all the time. And getting that person that's going to feed that ego enough to take to hurt, and then having that damage. I mean, now mind you, it's so sad. Kids are going to get hurt. Like, stuff is going to happen. We can't fix it all. We can't prevent it all, but we can equip them to understand that. I tell my oldest all the time. I'm just like, look, you need to understand that a lot of the grace you get from me, that's mama grace. You know what I mean? And not just me, our family. I say you are in a controlled environment. When you're with our family, you're in a controlled environment. So we're going to take substantially more than people in the outside world are going to take from you. But you need to recognize that as grace, and you need to recognize that as privilege. You know what I mean? Trying to get her in that mindset that I've come from a family of privilege, of having love, intentional love, care, support. I'm 37 years old, and I can still call my aunt, call my grandma. You know what I mean? Whatever I need. If I need a place to stay, if I need something to eat, if I need some money, I can still do that. I will never be alone in this world. My dad, that's new. But
I tried to explain that to my daughter too, because I literally was in Florida for 2 months at my parents' house. Like literally. Like, my mom's like, I want to take the kids on a cruise. And I'm like, I tell my daughter, like, don't take things for granted. And like I said, I think like that's something my oldest daughter, because she's older and she's seen more of the trauma, I think it's something that she consumes from her father's side. And even though my ex is a provider, he's not necessarily good at giving guidance. So what happens is, because we don't really share the same morals, right? Is that I'm the parent that's always like, when you walk in the room, you're not gonna like come and not go and greet. That's unacceptable. But then I sometimes I resent the fact that I'm the only one doing it. Like, why do I have to be the only one doing it? Like, why is that not the standard? Yeah, your mother needs to, like, yeah, your mother said, and that's how it is. So then what happens is, like, I don't regret my kids. I love my kids, but for me to say, like, sometimes when I tell people, like, I probably wouldn't have had kids if I knew there was going to be like that. And people say, like, that sounds like a horrible thing. But I'm like, it's because for me, having a kid is to put a kid out into the world. It's not like, and then for them to be prepared. Like, there's some things that are deposited in my daughter that will hurt her more than if she was a man, right? As if she was a boy, she could probably skate on some of these things and present in a certain way. But and still get, even though men talk about being lonely, but I don't think men are really lonely. They just put themselves in lonely spaces, right? Because they're looking for an ideal thing. Like, they're always chasing something, even when they pass by it. They just keep on going. But for a girl, like, if you're not careful, and I told my daughter, I was like, we have a lot of camaraderie. But if you continue to push people away, at some point, we're not Jesus. You're going to smack us once, twice, and I'm not turning my cheek again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not turning my cheek again. Like, so you have to be present, present in this time. I tell my daughter, like, we only have one life to live. Like, for me, what frustrates me is I'm wasting time in arguing with you over mundane things that don't need to be had. Like, I had kids later. My kids are like 11 and 6. And I told my kid, like, don't think because I'm here now that I could be here tomorrow. People in their 40s, 50s die all the time. Even her dad, like, because I had paid for them to go to he paid for them to go to IT camp. And she was like go away camp for 1 week. So she was on the campus and her dad called her. And I'm like, how is it you don't call your dad when, if you need a laptop, he gets it for you? If you're like, can I come over? I mean, we don't really have a schedule or anything. Like, he's over at your house. He's paying for you to go on vacation, all this stuff. I'm like, that's not, even though I don't feel like he supports me in that way, when I say those things, it's not really for him. It's really for her to understand giving where it's being received.
Yeah.
Right? You got to give where it's being received. You can't just take, and then you're not receiving. So then I have these meltdowns that I realize I have now, where I did realize I started, like, blowing up a little too hard. So now what I do, and I don't know if that's better, is that I literally stop and I just leave. Like, I leave because I know if I stay, like, they were at their dad's house, I was doing her hair, and then she had that reaction, and I'm like, I'm done, I'm good. And then my mother-in-law was like, oh, well, you can't really act like that. I said, no. I said, even though you're angry because I'm putting up my boundaries, and I told my daughter, I said, me putting up my boundaries is teaching you one day to have your own boundaries. One day you're going to say, my mom, she didn't accept none of that.
Yeah.
And then you're going to say, I don't come from accepting any of that. So if I start accepting it from her dad, or from whoever, then I'm teaching her, because my mom is such a docile person. Like, my mom says, oh, I could be a bit spitfire and I could blow up. But I'm like, yeah, but you're docile. Like, there's things that my mom has gone through, like with my dad, that she allowed. And I told her, I said, you would have been better off by yourself. Like, I remember being young and I told my parents, like, I told my mom, like, you should leave my dad. I literally remember telling her, why do you allow him to talk to you that way? And feeling a bit of resentment because of it, actually.
Towards
Not
her?
completely. Yeah, a little bit. Not completely. But I think I felt resentment because I felt like I couldn't really protect her and
Yeah.
she's not protecting herself.
Yeah, you're
So,
seeing something, it makes you upset. It's just I always talk about this movie because it was so relevant. Did you see that movie Cuties?
no. Oh, no, I didn't see it.
Child, you need to see it because it was basically that something was going on with the mother that the mother was upset about, but was putting on that face of being a dutiful wife and long suffering, and the baby was seeing it. And so she was acting out in rejection of that, in frustration. She couldn't talk to nobody about it, because everybody was just acting like everything was fine. And she's like, okay, I see you suffering, but you're also telling me that the things you're doing are the righteous way to be. I don't want none of that shit. I'm going to be the exact opposite of everything you're saying I need to be, because if that is my prize for being that way, I don't want none of that shit.
I do recall, like, when I first separated, feeling guilty for not keeping my family together.
Mm.
Like, I internalized, like, what is wrong with me that I couldn't stay the way my mom did? But then I had to realize, like, even though, like, I had to realize what my emotions couldn't take it. Being the type of, like, I literally realized, like, if I stayed, it's sad to have to make a choice between your emotional stability and your family. Like, oh, well, I want to keep my family together, but at the same time, I feel I'm like unraveling, right? Because even though, what a lot of people don't realize is, even though, especially now that I watch all these homicide, like, I see these homicide things, and I'm like, even though you think you're staying to save something, but people, in my opinion, start to get erratic. And I feel like, especially like when men don't want to see you anymore, they could get malicious. And then
Yeah,
that creates a volatile situation that can become violent that I just don't even want to engage in.
I
Like,
noticed. I notice with men, I feel like what they do is, because you see the narrative they like to push is the woman breaks up the family, right? So they're not going to just leave. They're going to do like ridiculously malicious,
oh my God,
intolerable, abusive things to you,
it
to the
gets
point where
people.
you're like, okay, one of us got to go either on our feet or in a body bag, and
Yeah,
you leave. And then it's, yeah, they can blame you because they don't. I feel like men don't want to be the bad guy. Like, despite
they
all
don't.
the horrible things that they say, they simply do not want to just own and say, I'm the bad guy.
I remember being like, I'm definitely a person that believes in everybody keeps their hands to themselves. Once I start feeling like I want to smack you upside the face, I don't need to be here.
Thank
You
you,
know, like,
London.
like when you start getting to that point and you feel like, because emotional abuse is another abuse within itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once someone starts being emotionally abusive, cold to you, a whole bunch of other stuff, you have to realize, like, I'm being a willing victim right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and if you don't make that decision, like, when I saw the girl in Philly, there was a girl in Philly, she had like 6 kids or something like that. I think the
Mm-hmm.
youngest one was 6 months, and the guy stabbed her 13 times. Then the cousin came on and he said, she just kept on trying to work with him. He was in a good space. So it's like, really, at the end of the day, and this is why I said you have to be womb loyal, leaving your kids sometimes to some of these men that are not necessarily emotionally stable is actually the scariest thing, as you're feeling your life waste away. Like, if, in my opinion, like, I feel like whether it's I died because I had cancer, because you made me sick on the inside, I had
Yeah.
blood pressure, like, how many women can say that I would be totally comfortable with this person guiding my child into adulthood to create a sane human being? That's not. Most men that do sometimes take on responsibility, they go and just find another woman, you know what
Mhm.
I mean, to replace you. And then that kid gets abused anyway, because now the child that was the inside child becomes the outside child. Like, even when I think of like Steve Harvey, I realize I never see his other kids. His other kids are never mentioned. The kids that he had in a marriage with a woman, sorry, are literally, sorry, oh, sorry, are literally never mentioned.
Yeah.
But the kid that is not his blood child is always mentioned.
Hmm.
His own bloodline has, like, seems to not even have any credence. So, and it's not with him, it's things that I have seen over time. I know a lot of people that are married. I have a cousin, his first wife, he had 2 kids, he remarried. His daughter was like literally Cinderella picking up dog poop on the floor. Like, and I don't think a lot of men are honest with the aftermath of what kids have to go through after a breakup in a marriage too. It's not even like you're just breaking me. You think you're breaking me, but you're also harming the children, because now, just because you don't have access to me in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that. Oh, who's that?
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna absolutely, because it's a thing, and my experience was, like I said, my youngest daughter's father. I It wasn't as bad of a situation because the two different personality types, right? So my oldest daughter's father is more of what I guess you would call a traditional masculine, or buys into traditional masculinity, right? And so with him, it was a thing, a championing. Like, I remember we were arguing about something that had to do with our child. And then I mentioned, his other children. I'm just like, you don't even take care of them, and da 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 da. You got whatever number he had at the time. And he kept pushing the issue of me adding in the child of his current girlfriend at the time, who was not his child. And he just kept driving home. Like, let's say I'm saying, you got 4 kids, I got 5 kids. Nigga, you not doing nothing for none of these kids. So who cares? You know what I mean? But it was just so
Mm-hmm.
meaningful to him that I added. But I had to come to realize that in my experience with him, he was always putting on for other people who weren't necessarily stuck with him. You get what I'm saying? Like, it was always this drive to appear to be doing more than he had to. So you're going to do nothing when it comes to these people that you have a responsibility to. But when it comes to these other people, you're going to get extra credit because, oh, you didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? And I just, it was hard. It was really, really hard. And that's why I say in the book, like, if you can't find something in that man to respect, you need to leave
I,
him alone.
I said
Yeah,
I can regret.
I would say that I never I didn't get married until late. I had 2 kids, and my son is 8 years older than my daughter. You guys know she's gonna
Mm-hmm.
inherit. She's that chick. And I think that one of the things that I've learned is about being goddess born. And in particular, being a goddess born warrior who is a natural empath and healer. And it seems like those are completely spread apart. How you gonna be a warrior and a healer at the same time? Because when you go to war and you have battles, you gotta have somebody to heal people too, right? Okay, it's
Yeah.
it's choosing what you need to choose to move the moment through the moment rather than trying to get over it, around it, or underneath it. So my daughter actually never saw any of that, though she held resentment, right? Because she did not see her father because he chose not to be around. He's 10 years older than me. Yes, we both, could take care of ourselves, had money, blah, 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 whatever, right? Educated, whatever. But he chose, when I was about 7.5 months to call me that one day and say, so I'm not having anything to do with you or her. Oh, oh, really? Okay. And of course that's devastating. But one of the things that I learned from growing to know my daughter is that I got the opportunity to give her all the different things that I did not get. So I just started studying my ass off. You know, that's why I went back to school twice. And what I know, if I say to all of you that are on this panel, whether you believe me or not right now, you're genius. Okay? You are all brilliant. You are the original woman and you still here. There's a lot of people that can't claim they still here because they ain't here. But you still here. And I think what has happened over time is Black women and Black girls have evolved millions of years further than the next group of humans. Now, y'all can say whatever. I'm not trying to go against anybody's religion or whatever. I'm just telling you. I'm just sharing some genius zone time with you geniuses out here. You brilliant women who are bringing this out. So we have the capacity as Black women who are goddess born to, yes, forgive. No, but I'm not going to. What you gonna have to do over there is atone. The only
Yeah.
person I am gonna be forgiving is me, because I've been putting in the work. And I don't know what people are being told, but I know sisters don't talk about this. We go through creating a human in our body. We go to work, go to school while we do it, raise other children. And if I don't know if men just don't read or they don't want to try to understand or whatever, but what it took to get them here through our bodies, we put our lives on the line for 10 lunar months. We gave up our bodies to create a human being. Now, I don't know a man that can create a human being, but I know all kinds of Black women who have created, you know, we are that powerful and we never really talk about our power. It seems like we're always trying to, mitigate what somebody else is thinking about us. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna just be real with you. When my daughter was tripping and she was going to, you know why? Because she's goddess born. Girl, your daughter's goddess born. She's powerful. So while you have to teach her that she's gonna have to have respect and a reverence for you, huh? She's also going to learn, because you're going to cultivate who she is and her power. So there are going to be spaces where you're going to, okay, let's exert your power. You know what power is? Let me show you. See, power is choice. People told you didn't have a choice. Yes, you do. You know how we say that to ourselves? Oh, I did this because I didn't have a choice. Oh, I was reacting to this. I don't react, I respond. I respond. And I taught my daughter how to respond. I didn't teach her to listen to people's words. I taught her to listen to behaviors. And I taught her that it takes time to do so. I made her sit down because I learned this, right, in school. I made her sit down and we would just watch people and we would talk about, what do you think about that person? What do you think their face is showing? Let me tell you about this. When someone moves like this, or someone does this, or someone does this, this is what it means. And this is what it means when you do this, right? So this 22-year-old can walk in a room And she is majestic. When I tell you guys, she is bad. Ooh, girl, she fly. She fly. Fly. She fly. She is beautiful. She is brilliant. She is power. She is compassion. She is kindness. She is love. But she ain't about to put up with shit all at the same time. You know why the men are coming to y'all, black women? You know why everybody keeps coming to y'all? Because you got us born. And you make everything happen out of midair because that's how badass you are. And your daughters coming through need to learn that reverence that I learned from my grandmother. I learned it because she was dedicated to me. So I explained to my daughter at a young age, Boo, I'm dedicated to you. I'm dedicated. I come here every day and I choose you. I have always chosen you. I chose your brother. And I put in the work. I bought you a house. I created you a realm. I gave you peace in that realm. I come to your school and I listen to what they saying. I hear you too. I've always taught you that you can trust me by my behavior. You ain't gonna like what I'm gonna tell you, and you ain't gonna love what I'm gonna tell you. You gonna love what I'm gonna tell you, and you gonna like what I'm gonna tell you. But you can best believe when I say it, it's a motherfucking done deal.
I
That's the
have to
way it
teach my daughter
is.
that. This
Yeah.
because
So
I
yeah,
literally did tell her about that.
yeah.
I told her about pay attention to people's how people are
Behaviors.
acting. It's not like communication, like in nursing, they tell you most people believe physical or visual communication more than verbal. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, I think that helps you even more with discernment. When I look back
Yes.
on some of the mistakes in who I chose, I was like, oh, well, maybe it's just, I tried to explain it. I tried to explain it. You can't explain away what you see.
I think we lose trust in ourselves is what happens too. I think we lose trust in um our goddesshood because we're told that everybody we're the chicken in the chicken soup and everybody gets to drink off of us and take.
Mhm.
And most of us as black women and black girls are natural empaths that come
Yes.
from being original, right? And so we're feeling other people's feelings at the same time we're feeling our own. And it's difficult to distinguish which is what sometimes, right? So when a lot of times, like for me, when I was pregnant with both kids, I felt their emotions, not just their bodies moving, you know. So that's how she and I are connected now. Girl, if you think we didn't go through some stuff, because power's gonna clash, girl,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
some point. That's just the way it is. But I realized that for her to really understand what I put down, because I would tell her, listen, if you got a problem, you need to go find that nigga and let him know that.
Yeah.
Okay, I tell you where he at, because I always know where they at. Okay, Ben, whoever found Bin Laden ain't got nothing on me. All right, so
You have a
girl,
special set of skills.
yes, I do. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna tell you, and so do all of you, and so do
Yeah.
your daughters. So do your daughters.
That's what me and my
So
daughter, my oldest, would sit and we would have those conversations, and I would just be pouring all of that into her. And like you said, it ain't that we haven't had hard times. It's because I'm like, look, I got to make up for you because the little one, just like you said, she's 8, but she
mhm.
she got it because she was bred in it. Because like I said, from the minute I knew she was coming, I was like, all right, stop, shut it down, redirect. We're going to do this a different way. But we
Yes.
had to do some correction. I told her, I said, look, you are the shit because your mama is the shit. Okay? And because your mama is the shit, everything you see me doing, she would be telling me stuff was going on with certain people. And I'm like, did they do this, and this? And she's like, how you know? I said, look, you can do it too. You can do
Mhm.
it too. We're teaching them
Mhm.
to read energy.
Yes.
We're teaching them to read
Yes.
energy. And like I
Yes.
said,
I was literally telling my daughter, I told my daughter, I said there's lightness and darkness. I
Mhm.
said if you're not careful, I told her, I said, sometimes I feel like you're residing too close to the darkness. I said, don't ever let the darkness take over you. I said, you need to make sure that you always move towards the light. I was like, there'll be things that'll try and bring you towards darkness. I said, but if you're not careful, you get lost, don't go there. Whereas my youngest daughter, she'll say stuff like, mommy, I realize when I'm around daddy, he laughs with his friends. He don't laugh with us like that. And she is like so young, like she said the deepest stuff. But my mom, I mean, I'm Haitian, but I don't think it's a Haitian thing. I think it's a Black people thing. My mom, she'll call me and she told me once, she said, Valerie, she was like, I had a dream that you got into an accident. Be careful. Next day I got into an accident. When I tell you, I trust everything my mother says. Everything. And there are people that just are very clairvoyant. Even when you're driving and you're like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't go that way. What I've noticed is when you tell yourself something 2 times, you don't wait till the third. When you wait till the third, that's the catastrophic time. I don't know if anyone else notices that. But sometimes you'll be like, why am I doing this? You'll tell yourself subconsciously in your head. And you'll be like, maybe I shouldn't do this. You're like, you know what? Maybe, and then you do it and you regret it.
But it's the same thing with behaviors. It's the same thing with behaviors.
Hold on one second.
3.
Mango Woman was trying to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I have a lot more to say, but I got to take care of my mental health. It's therapy time. So
Okay, you have a good night. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing the yummy baby.
All right, take care.
All right. Go ahead, Confidence.
I was just saying, what was I saying? Oh, it does come in the power of 3, right? Just what you were saying, Valerie. So it's the same thing with behaviors. I taught my daughter, first time somebody does something, we're going to take it as an incident. Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll watch that. Second time they have the behavior. Okay. Is that a coincidence?
Right.
Well, just in case, let me just tell you at the incident that this is the boundary. And what I think a lot of Black women don't understand is boundaries don't work without consequences. Because people are going to continue to behave. You're not changing anyone but yourself, right? And you have a large influence on your children as they're growing. But the fact of the matter is they start making choices too, right? So, all right, I done told you. This is when you behave a certain way after this incident, I'm going to tell you. So you chose this behavior. This is a boundary for me. And there are consequences to your behavior. So I just sit back and watch because I know people are going to behave. And I just look. Here we go. Second time. Okay, I'll take that as a coincidence. So here's your first consequence. If I'm at work and you think you want to raise your voice to me, I already told you one time. So I told you there was going to be a consequence to your behavior. And I give it, honey. I'm your consequence. I forgot to mention that part. I'm your consequence. I'm getting up and walking out. Meeting over. I'm out. And I know you're going to try it again. You're going to come with your excuses and try to get me back, all this other shit. Because the third time, you got a behavioral pattern.
That is the word. I say the same thing. I'm like 3 times. It's a pattern. It's a pattern now. So it's a new protocol.
Pattern, that's
a new protocol for a pattern.
Yeah, I'm not going to be doing that with you either. So guess what? Now you don't get to speak to me, which is what I was trying to get to all along. See, because talking to me is a privilege, Pooh.
My attention is a gift, not a party favor.
Yes. And that's how it is for us as Black women. This is what I'm talking about power. People don't make me feel anything.
No.
I feel what I do because that's my power.
Yeah.
I feel however I feel, whatever it is I'm thinking, it's not because somebody made me do anything. Those are my feelings. So that also means that I have to be accountable and responsible for them, right? So when somebody says that to me, oh, I'm sorry I made you feel like, it made me feel shit. You don't have the power to make me feel anything, Pooh.
I am
I
good
do
with
what I
that
do
with
because that's my
strangers,
power.
bad with that with personal people. Like strangers, like if I mean, even since when I was younger, like my mom used to tell me, like I'll go to when I was younger. I literally remember my mom saying, I'll say, "Oh, such and such doesn't like me." My mother would say, "So who cares?" And I've learned with strangers, I'm amazing with it. When it gets personal, that's when it's the hardest. So when if someone tells me, like, I think somebody told me online, they're like, "Oh, they don't like me." I said, "Oh, thank you." Because I didn't even know I was a thought in your mind. I really didn't even care. Like when I, even for work, like I'm like, when I leave here, right? I don't even think about you. Like you're not even a factor in my mind. But
Right.
then when it gets to the personal people, right? And definitely, and this is probably why, because I've done homeschool my kids since they were little, and I tell my kids, you need to pay attention to the patterns. I
Mhm.
teach my kids about patterns and math, patterns and everything, patterns and language, words, everything. I said, pay attention to patterns, patterns of repetition. Because when you pay attention to patterns, then you know what's going to happen. Like,
Yeah.
and people might, yeah,
Yes. I told
people
my
think
daughter,
like,
I said, people walk around so much like, oh, why is this happening to me? You have all the information you need, especially if you've been dealing with somebody or a situation for a long time. You have all the information. My daughter, last year for her birthday, she was at my aunt's house. She came back. Her whole energy was just off. And I'm giving her gifts, and I'm like, we're gonna do this on the weekend, because I had to work and stuff. I'm like really excited because I know my baby. I know what she likes. I know the type of thing she likes. And she's just like, and finally I just sitting there like, what's wrong with you? She was talking to her dad, and she's like, I just think, but I'm hearing him in what she's saying. I said, I'm gonna stop you right there. I said, we both agree. I have no idea what y'all was talking about, correct? She said, yeah. I said, he said this, and this. She was just like, how do you know? Because I pay attention. I
Mhm.
knew. I was like, and if you really put your mind to it, you would have known that he would have said that stuff. And you know why he's saying that stuff. And it's just like this is not me, because I know somebody on this internet might get a hold of this and try to say, see, women know what's up and they're just playing dumb. It's not that you're playing dumb. Like I said so many times before, we have so many different esoteric energy and messaging and psychic shit coming towards us that we have to process. A lot we have to protect ourselves from. A lot we have to transmutate into things that are useful or needed for our children. We are doing a lot with our brains. We're doing a lot. And so it's not, we don't have awareness, because again, the assumption is, and I don't know which live it was, it might have been last week. The assumption is, if I let you close enough to have sex with me, if I let you close enough to impregnate me, then I already assume that you're safe. So I'm going to take for granted that you're safe. You're in the category of being safe. And
and
because
you think
I'm
it's
doing all this,
constant.
yeah, and because I'm doing all this other stuff, I'm not, like I said, firing on all cylinders. So I may need to take you out of the safe zone, but I'm processing. I'm doing too. It's not registering to me right now. You know what I mean? So this idea that, oh, women are just playing along, we are surviving.
Well, we have, I say this all the time, we have 2,000 to 5,000 more genomes than men, which means for Black women, we're at that 5,000 and over. I'm just saying. Okay, but anyway, for men, they only can process no more than 3 to 5 intricate functions at a time, right? So often I find with my husband now, I have to go back to him and say, okay, did you do this? Okay, great. Okay, moving on. Okay, did you, or my son, did you do, okay, got it. We, as Black women and Black girls, can process 85 intricate um, factors all at the same time. So while we are working and project managing there, we are devoting ourselves to our children at home. We are devoting them at school. We are their spiritual guides. We love them beyond measure. We are dedicated to them, and we solve all of these problems at work too, right? Then we're buying them a home. That takes a tremendous amount of not only singular Black woman brilliance to do that as single moms, right? But it takes you to exert your power, because another part of your power is your power over your environment. See, we
Yeah.
think sometimes that only our environment influences us. We actually influence our environment almost equally, right? Or more so in the case of us that understand that, right? So when I walk in, I already know that I can shift the energy in a space easily, right?
Mhm.
And that's what we have to know about ourselves as Black women. That the reason people keep running to us is because we are goddess born. And what I keep saying to all these other people is, you know how you chose Jesus? That's where you should go. Stop coming here. Stop coming over here asking me to solve your damn problems. Okay? Stop coming over here trying to make what you chose to do my fault. I don't experience guilt anymore. I am goddess born. I do not experience shame. I am goddess born. I experience being accountable. I experience being responsible. I experience doing the wrong thing. And I experience choosing to do the right thing. I experience choosing violence, and I experience choosing to be compassionate and kind. Believe me, it's all a choice, and I'm making it.
You know, my
And
nanny used to say
so,
that. My
yeah,
nanny used
so
to say that.
you guys,
She used to
you know what
say,
I'm saying, right?
she used to say, la madame, which is the madam. She's like, everything is a choice. You decide
Yes.
everything. And I remember once I said, no, no, no. She said, no, everything is a choice. Whether it's hard for you to make the decision is your problem. But everything is
Yes.
a choice. And I know, like, to go back to when you were talking about the whole energy thing, me, I like my cousin told me something. She said, Valerie, you're the freaking vibe. And I had to stop and think about it because I know when I am angry, you can feel acid rain in
Yeah.
the room.
Yes.
And that's probably why I have learned to be so bubbly, because I can be so like, yeah, like when yesterday when I was in there with my daughter, I was like, I'm done. I left. I didn't say nothing. My mother-in-law called me. She's like, what's wrong? Her dad called me. I didn't even say anything to him. What's wrong? Actually, I find that when you give people your back
Yeah.
in the silence because they want it so
Mm-hmm.
much, that's when you have more power.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
even like I can say, like, when I was married, like people say, oh, you seem like you were a combative person. I said, actually, to be quite honest, I'm the most easygoing, loving, probably what men would say is submissive person.
Yeah.
But what my ex didn't realize is I had a whole nother side. And I was holding out, holding out. I stayed in the house with the father of my children for 3 years. For 2 years I didn't even talk to him. I was like, this person is not even deserving of my saliva. Like that energy. And I used to tell him, I said, you know why you're like that? You're like that because you automatically receive this from me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it is to receive my loving, my caring, my support, anything. Like, you start a new job, I'm always like, you've got this. I am the hype man for myself, and therefore by adjacency, you have become part of that. And
Yeah.
you take it for granted. Girl, he did not know what to do, because
No.
I used to be like, I remember being that, and I used to say, how come, if when I need affection or love, like, how come you can't come and give me a hug? Like, you never asked me for a hug. Like, these are simple things. I didn't say good morning, good afternoon, good night. I woke up, got my kids ready, left, bye. He tried to be nice, it's too late.
Yeah.
too late. Like once it's late, like I told somebody, if I eat something, I throw it up. I don't. If I eat something, throw it up. I don't eat it again.
Yeah.
Period.
Yes.
Period. If I eat something and I throw it up, I'm not eating it again. So now, like even now to this day, and that's goes to the part where she said people don't have like a consequence. I had to realize that being with me is a value.
Yes.
I'm not going to give you the value of me because you are not deserving of the value of me. I know. I told my daughter, I know what I bring to the table. I know that I am a loving, giving person. I know that if you need something, I am at your door. My cousin was at my house today. She's a nurse. She had a knot in her back. I'll massage your whole back. She's like, girl, you should do this for your husband. I said, yes, I did. She said, what are you doing? I said, because he dumb. You know, and I like I know what I have the power. I don't know if everyone does, but I'm definitely someone who knows what people need. Like my cousin, she lived in my house. She went to nursing school, finished school. My other cousin, I am a giver of to the deepest bounds. So I expect it in return. It is not a question of if you can. If you cannot, there is the door. Go find the door because it is not acceptable here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad that you cannot provide it. It is not my problem. It is your problem. Your problem, not my problem. Now I'm going to my Nigerian accent. I'm sorry. Bye.
Yes, mama.
No, give it to us.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about. No, I love it. I love it when the ancestors speak through us. Okay.
I had to
Yes.
tell my ex. I had to tell him. I said, this is my fault because I expected you to understand what it is to be a husband. Unfortunately, you only know what it is to how to love a mistress, not a wife. That's why you're like that. I shouldn't have expected that of you because not because you were born as an outside child, but you never did the work to understand what it is you're actually entering into a covenant into. And
Well,
I
that's
know I gave my husband, he got his paper, everything, all that on me. So I know, and I told him, I said, you wasted my time. That's really what pissed me off because my time is as precious as your time. If you came and you realized it didn't fit, that's fine. But don't play with my time because I value my time and my womb. And I told my ex, I ain't never had nobody for nobody else. So let it be known. And I told him, I said, all the mistresses that I found that you had, let's confirm that all of them realize that you're not valuable enough because they didn't give you any part of their womb. If they loved you so much, how come nobody birthed for you? Right? Nobody birthed for you. And I told him, I said, if you don't value your seed, you're gonna end up in a nursing home like half of these men out here. Half of these men out here dying alone and lonely. Going to get your dialysis, trying to get Viagra, and it ain't working no more. That's the other part too. Like a lot of men talk about like us hitting the wall. I'm like, you hold on. I'm in healthcare. Everybody starts to go down at a certain age. It ain't just me. It's not just me. I know you going down too.
yeah.
I know you gotta take 4 pills to try and go and talk to that 20-year-old. Okay?
You gotta take
You gotta take 4 pills. You gotta take 4 pills plus a Red Bull, and even then, it contraindicates with your hypertension medication. So let's
not with your hypertension, too much medicine.
Yeah,
Like
you half of y'all dealing with sciaticas, back pain, can't walk. You be like, man, my back went out. Like, let's not act like you're not aging. You know what I mean? Respect the fact that you're aging. And actually, to be quite honest, me and my age, what I tend to find is most women, as you get older, even though you're aging, because we care for our bodies, we're not sitting here drinking Hennessy and all this other stuff. We age a lot better. And when you hit your 30s, actually, when you hit like your late 30s into your 40s, my libido, like, boo. Like, you know, men are always saying, like, well, it's man nature. I'm like, excuse me, so women are not sexual beings? Are women not sexual beings? Because boo-boo, if technically, I was down in myself because I was in a covenant with you. And that was not the objective of, like, that is not, it's not in balance to focus on just your sexual needs. That is a need. I'm not saying it's not a need, but when you add in kids, bills, life, and everything, you can't focus on that one thing. And this is why I told my ex, I said, have you no shame? Have you no shame that you had the time to go on vacation with your mistress when you had your two kids and you've yet to be on a family vacation? Have you no shame? Are you not embarrassed? Are you not embarrassed? And a lot of men talk about, oh, they have the need, but we can even talk about the woman that they're in a relationship with, that they've committed to, and they're not being sexually satisfied because you can't be in two places at one time.
You can't.
You can't be like,
I don't know what kind of studs these guys think they are, but it's
lies.
just like, and the thing is, if we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about it. Some of them, that was the last thread you had. That was the last thread you was hanging on by. You know what I mean? Like, if you ain't doing that, why are you here?
When
we
you
done
were
told
20,
them.
when you were 20, you probably could have knocked off 2 or 3. But now that you're 40, you knock off 1, and then you want to go watch your NFL game. Like, stop. I call cap. I call cap on all of it. Like, it's a lie.
Black men, y'all better stop chasing them red pills with the Red Bull. That's all I
It
can tell
ain't
you.
even just a red pill, it's the alcohol.
You gotta stop taking these pills with that Red Bull.
Then you got the pump. You know they got the pump. You can go and get the surgery and get the pump. You gotta get the pump. You know, to me, you trying to pump it after water, pump the work no more. Come on,
I'm sorry, everyone. Cover your ears. The pump may engorge it, but it ain't gonna hold it up. It ain't gonna keep it strong.
No, and how does that keep up with a God is born? Exactly. What's that doing for a God is born? Because, girl, I'm all kind of tantric. So what's that?
I don't need a rigatoni noodle is still a noodle.
Okay. You got to get with a sister. And that's why, I let go of centering men in general decades ago, and Black men specifically. I don't center any of them. My husband's white, and I expect for you to worship. I expect for you to adore. I expect for you to bow. We worship Black women and Black girls here. So that's what we're going to do. And the church we go to, as I always say, is a church of my daughter, Nandi. Mm-hmm. We tithe to her. We protect her. We uplift her. We surround her. And I'm the head of her security. Now, you want to fuck with her? Hey, people are going to behave. But I'm going to be your consequence. My new shotgun and all, girl, it's a semi-auto. It's so cute. It's so cute. It's so cute.
To be quite honest, I was going to say, my problem with a lot of people nowadays is everybody is chasing a fantasy. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody wants to be freaky and all this other stuff. But I don't feel like people are more. How is it that everyone is more freaky, but more men are more lonely? Right? It doesn't make sense. Like, how many people can say that they genuinely know how to kiss their wife? Like, just the basics. There's a lot of basics that a lot of people don't have in terms of basics. And if we're even honest, it takes time to get to know someone if you're willing to get to know someone. Yeah. So it could be that you're lonely in a marriage and you got divorced because you didn't want to take the time to genuinely get to know that person. You might have seen that person as a surrogate, as a nanny, as a maid, but you never saw that human being as a relationship and a partner. And those are two different things. You know what I'm saying? And even some of the men that are talking about, like, feeling lonely, they say us to self-examine ourselves. I've seen men that that haven't had a dental plan since 1842 when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. But now you want to try and come and kiss me with your oral bacteria. I am sorry. I am sorry. I don't want to kiss you. Your mouth is dirty. You are dirty. Okay? Like you don't upkeep yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like your beard looking like, like a patch of like a chia pet patch. You know what I'm saying? But everybody want a baddie, but you not a baddie. Like I don't understand. Or you want to get an Instagram girl. That's fine. You're gonna get an Instagram girl if you want to, but you're gonna have to pay them Instagram bills.
But
A
you know,
lot of
I
people,
don't think Black
you know,
women
a lot of us really
see
like, a
ourselves
lot of
like
men talk
that.
about, like, I understand, like, a lot of men talk about, well, us women, we want all these high standards, but really, like, most people are where they're at. Meaning, like, if you marry someone in your 20s, you're building in the 20s, right? The thing is, women are going in and thinking, I'm going to marry someone in my 20s and we're going to build, whereas, and stay together until the end, right? Whereas men are coming in to marry only to get money and use your resources and your time and your aid and your confidant to build and then get something new. And then even when you get that new thing, now you're complaining because this young person is expecting certain things. Like you can't you can't be in your 40s and your 50s, already have one broken family, then you're expecting to get a younger woman that doesn't want to start a family, while at the same time your whole body is degrading. You're right. This, your age, most men, they don't even live that long anyway. So even when they say, well, I hear a lot of men say, when we hit our 40s, like, we're in this space. Like, okay, how much more time do you have? If you have a baby at 40, 45, 50, you're let's calculate when your kid is going to be in high school, right? I had kids at a later age. My husband is what, 45 right now. 45. You got 11 and a 6-year-old. Are you not baggage yourself? Do
I
do
can't
people
push a
not think?
stroller and a wheelchair. I can't do
Yeah,
it.
I don't understand why men don't think that women don't want to start a family autonomous without having another female to partake in it. When, broken, in my opinion, like when people have one broken family, maybe they marry somebody else, but you take on something else, like you take on that other person, that other father, that other mother, you can't eliminate them, right? Because that is the core of that child. So now you're going to have to integrate being in different families. So like when KS was saying, like, well, how is your child going to benefit that person? That child has a different father, unless he has like a value, that a father that's a piece of crap. But if they are present, right? And I think a lot of women, even though we don't say it, we try to keep the fathers present in their lives. It's a matter of whether they want to partake, right?
But
But if
here's the thing, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, and you might be saying something different than this, but that just like triggered something in me. When we're talking about, making blended families, right? And like you said, the best case scenario is that child's biological father is there. I feel like any parent, whether it's a mother or a father or something, that is just extra, and they should be just as invested. And we should all have a vested interest in the overall good for that child.
I agree, but what I'm saying is, when he said it, he said, well, how is that child going to benefit this other person? But that child still has a connection with their parent. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's still rules and regulations within that other family, that other child's parent. They're still a valid person. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, like, okay, for instance, I have 2 kids, right? I have 2 kids. Let's say if my ex remarries or whatever, or gets in another relationship, there's certain morals and standards that I hold true that can't be eliminated just because you found a new person. Like, and I think a lot of men tend to think, well, I'm gonna leave you, get someone else, and then that's it. No. Once you have children with somebody, unfortunately, you're intertwined forever. Even when
Uh,
you no wait, even when you wanna disengage, unless the person checks out, right? If they're a horrible person, and they check out and they leave, better for you. But even though you're not intertwined, like you're not with them personally, like I'm not with them,
You got to have
but
a working
your
relationship.
child, your child will always, at some point, unless they were a piece of crap, want to long for that relationship. So by adjacency, I still have to deal with you, which is why, like, I don't understand why a lot of men like to trick women into pregnancy, because like you entrap yourself too. It's not like you're just entrapping me,
They
right?
don't think of it like that because the whole conversation around baby making
Mm-hmm.
and not marriage with the baby making is that it's a disservice to the community and it's the fault of the woman. So you are untouchable at this point to anyone but him, should he choose to want to touch you.
Well,
And
that's
we're
wrong.
supposed to be so broken and repentant and whatever that you're just going to sit and wait for him and hope and pray and maybe even campaign to
No,
get him to choose you.
that's not happening. I don't know why
Well,
men
I'm
don't think
gonna
women
say,
don't
can
have
I say
dignity and
something?
pride.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that um again, I spent years trying to figure men out. I mean, just like um and I've studied it. I mean, I've truly studied how um the psychology of DNA and all these different things. I've done my own research, and what I found out is I just need men to go sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. That's what I need you to do until I call you forward. And then I'll let you know what you need to do. And you need to be devoted to me because I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to heal y'all, everybody in this house. I'm going to uplift you. You know, my husband puts the money in the bank and he don't question no shit. He
Yeah.
already knows that I'm going to make it best for everyone. I am going to create a peaceful environment. I am going to create the most comfort no matter what room he goes into. He's going to be able to chill, but of course, I really created it because, me. And and this is what's going to happen. So, we do have a blended family, and I try not to mention my other two, his two,
Yeah.
because I don't want them to have to get hit you know with things that I get hit with being on the internet and stuff like that. But um we have done a lot to bring our kids forward. I've done a lot to help him to work on his relationship with his children, you know, and because he's the type of man who thinks, oh, you go to work and you do this, and then that's called raising kids. No, bro, it's about being present. Don't tell me shit. He actually had custody of his children, right? But don't tell me shit because your parents and everybody helped you. I had to do this shit. My mama was like, "Oh, so you had good luck, you know." And I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. I learned a lot from that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how I deal with my daughter. She has a wholly different type of mother, of now friend. We weren't friends when I had to make all the decisions for her. Okay? We ain't friends. When I got to do all the heavy lifting, we not friends. Cause I'm gonna make some decisions you ain't gonna like. And I really just don't care, but it's for
Yeah.
your best interest. But as you get older and you're making decisions and I'm backing up, I'm making a space for her. And this is what we should be doing as older black women, right? I should be making a space for her and other young black women to feel protected and uplifted and sacred. And I don't have the time to give a fuck what black men think or don't fucking think.
Oh
Okay?
yeah.
I really just don't. I need to center black women and black girls, which is what we're doing here, right? Like
Yeah.
we're talking about our daughters and we're talking about what we're doing for them. And so I don't really care. And black men do come to me and challenge me and everything like that. I get that.
Mhm.
And shut the fuck up. I don't answer you.
Yeah.
Okay? What you need to do,
Period. Period.
what you need to do is come on. You need to get with a sister. So I was on, I'll give you an example just real quick. I was on I forget what I was doing. I don't know. I think I was talking about TD Jakes. You know,
Mhm.
that little episode that that
We're on
you know, my
Clubhouse.
my rage went from, you know, it's normal 1,000 to a million, right? So all over the place just talking shit, right? And he kissed my whole ass, and you know, him and all the deacons too, you know. And so my cousin's husband, you know, sent me a thing, you know, a public,
Mhm.
response, a comment, you know. And he was, you know, you need to be careful because of this, and you need to be careful because of that. And, you know, black men have gone through a lot. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. The only time I answer black men is so black women can hear what I'm saying. Okay. Kiss my ass. Okay. How about that? And you better tell your wife I'm looking for her ass. All right. That's my cousin. I got that.
Okay.
Well,
And
you know,
Like
you
what?
can't protect her. You ain't gonna do shit, black man, to protect her. She's better off waiting for me to come
Mm.
to get with her and protect her because you ain't able to do it. So don't sit here when um you don't even know my children's name and you have spent time over my house with my husband cooking in our beautiful home on our property, not just this house, oh, but the other one that I built. You, and you ain't done shit. So you want to talk to me and try to don't sound arrogant, bitch. I don't care if you think I'm you thought I care what you know me better than this. The fuck is wrong with you? Oh no, that's not what we gonna do. That's not what we gonna do. What you gonna do is shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down out of my eyesight. You
well,
do not this you do not you're not in a space where you could ever tell me anything. I am done with listening to black men who sound like white women to me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell both of y'all to sit the fuck down out of my fucking eyesight. Go. I wish y'all would get together. Bye. Okay, I'm over you. There's all kinds of
Why?
men out here. There's all kinds of people out here. Expand your options. We don't need to do this shit. Okay? And there's plenty of people, plenty of men from different backgrounds and all types of stuff. And we have this idea that we can't vet. Maybe vet is the wrong word. But first of all, background check. Second of all, I'm gonna need a blood sample, a urine sample, a hair sample.
well,
I'm
you know,
gonna
I
need
said
to
that
know
the other
all
day.
your people. We're gonna do a whole FBI investigation up your ass
You know
before you
what
get
it is?
anywhere near
Because
me.
I
because
told
what
someone the other day,
even
I
is
said
a vetting?
nowadays, I
What
said
even
nowadays
is
you gotta do
vetting?
a whole Carmen San Diego up in here, CSI, like blood check,
But you
blood.
can't come
Like,
near me.
it's like so
What
it's
if you have
annoying,
an
but it's true.
STD? I don't. I need to. So what's your STD
It's not
history?
about, but it's
I
not
can't do that.
about vetting. It's not about, because, or I won't say it's not about vetting, because at this point, it's like, I don't even know what vetting is. It's not a matter of a one time. I don't know who it was that said it. It's not about doing something one time. It's about monitoring the person over the time. And if you have someone who's just used to being manipulative, used to willing to put on whatever mask they need to put on to get whatever it is they need to get, then it's going to take over time. Like initially, you're not going to get, you know what I mean? And even the best of people will do something that, based on your experiences and stuff, you may interpret as, oh, are they trying to play me? Or, you know what I mean? Like there's always going to be that fine line between trying to discern and say, okay, where are my issues beginning and ending, and is this actually the way it's happening, or is this my perception? You know, you're going to give people a certain level of grace. But if you have someone whose objective is to trick you, you probably going to get tricked before you
Yep.
realize that you've been tricked. And it's
You
this
you
idea
are.
that it's this zero sum game that if you ever got tricked, oh, that was you failed, this and that and the other. Like,
Well, you know what?
No,
I
you
think,
didn't
to be quite
fail.
honest,
You did
I
not.
think,
I'm not gonna say that, but here's what I am gonna say. So what took me 3, 4 years, 10 years took my daughter 6 months, because now I have the understanding to put it into a format for her, and she can use it as it relates to her life.
yeah,
She still
yeah,
went through the feelings. She
mm-hmm,
still was hurt when she broke that shit off, but she has been taught how to watch people's behavior
yeah,
over a 3 month period, right? Just watch. Your feelings are going to get involved, that's a
yeah.
given. Okay,
But still
but
be sure to
i
watch.
just I
well, you know
just
what?
want you to
I,
watch how his behavior matches up with what you're saying and what he's saying.
this
Because
is
what
what
I
I
wanted
don't,
to get down to is I need her to know who she is for herself. So we've been practicing that for years.
Mm-hmm.
Nani, who are you? Because who you are changes over time. I'm changing and evolving. So who I am in this moment, I'm going to be different. Maybe tomorrow if I read something, and I just finished not too long ago reading Miss Vitamin Kids book. So I changed all the way around, but like that.
you know what?
You know what I'm saying?
You know what
So
I've come
I'm
to
going to
realize?
evolve. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
I do know that we shortened the time for her. And then she called me today. She's like, you know what, Mom? Like, what? She goes, girl, let me tell you something. I don't know what happened, but last week I was so depressed. You were up here, you were feeling me, and this now, like, I know, girl, because your emotions were really just heavy. By the time I left, I was bent over, you know? Just carrying her emotions,
Yeah.
just taking on, because it's my job also to come through with my abilities as an
Give her
empath,
some
and there are
relief.
different types of empaths, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I suggest that you guys, this is by a Black woman too, read M, um Melanin Empath. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
she has 2 books that are along the same lines, and she teaches you how to ground yourself and how to protect yourself. The things you have to do for your empathic daughters, the things you have to do for your empathic self, right? And how you bring the compassion and kindness back to you, right?
Okay.
And give it to yourself. So that's a part of the process of quote unquote vetting. I got to come up with a different word, but quote unquote understanding. She understands who she is. She can tell you what she wants. And she can pick up whether you're actually mimicking her, whether you're actually at the core this type of person with these types of values,
Mm-hmm.
because you can only stand so much pressure. And what she does is she pushes spending time with you.
Yeah.
So what we find is that men will try to, they think they can hit it or run or whatever. I was like, it's on you. You got it, born. You can do what you want, with your holy creative space, darling. And don't allow them to do that at first. If you want to see who this person is, close that shit off. Now that doesn't mean that you can't. Dating to me is not that's the man that you're looking for to marry. No,
Yeah.
it's like when I go, as a nurse going for a job application. Actually, at this point, you're applying for me. I'm not applying for you. If you get me, girl, you got to come up with the money. You got to come up with this. You got to do this. And your values of your company really do have to match what the fuck you saying, because I'm trying to be matched with humans who have core we have a core values that are the same.
Yeah.
And I don't care whether that's my friend, I don't care whether that's my family, I don't care who that is. I need our core values to be a match. And that's where I'm trying to get to. So the behavioral things that I have taught her over time were things that took me decades to figure out, right?
Okay.
So now she can apply it in hot motion. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
What
Okay.
I've come to
And
realize
then,
is what I've come to realize is I realize that men in general are conditioned to be deceptive and liars. Like when I think back on some of the words I've heard people say, like you hear guys saying, you need to learn how to shoot game. Or let
Mhm.
me teach you how to get with that girl. It's never really well, if you tell the person what you want and what you're expecting, then if the person accepts it, it's never that. There's always this trying to create a an imaginary world. And I don't know if I ever realized that, but I just thought of that the other day, going back to when you say the vetting, which is what makes vetting a little bit fluid at all times. It's not like it's
yes.
not the person you are today is not the person you are 5 weeks from now, the person you are
Mm-hmm.
6 months from now. If you were never the original person, which is what makes you lonely, right? Because you're never really your true self. Like my ex literally said, he said, I'm a very good liar. And it shocked me when he said that. Like I was like, okay. And so but I realized like men are trained to lie from a very young age.
Mhm.
Like, they're trained to lie. And maybe that's something that, whether that's society or I don't know if that's other men that teach them that, or maybe even moms, because you'll hear moms saying, you got to try and get you a good girl. Because you already know that you're depositing not as a good person, right? So you got to try. You need to try to get you a good girl. Why you got to try, right? Shouldn't you just be so therefore you receive? The fact that you have to try, manipulate to get, and then you'll even have moms that know that their son's a certain way and they're pushing that son that maybe they don't want to be around anymore. Or they don't
On
like the
somebody
person.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, on
You
that
bring a
good
girl around.
girl.
Oh, you need to hurry up and lock them down.
And
Get
it
them
could
out
be
of
because
here.
when they're around that son, they feel lonely. Maybe they don't hug their mothers either. So maybe it's really the mother that needs a good girl. She might need a good daughter-in-law to be like, oh, my daughter-in-law, she does this for me, and my daughter-in-law, she does, instead of doing the work with
Oh,
her
I
son.
wish. The thing is,
You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't
I
do that
had,
with their sons.
I always had moms that liked me and stuff, but like I had a mom that she likes me. She likes me. She probably even loves me too, to the best of her ability. But when you have those moms that are just like, oh, he's mine, talking about their son, he belongs to me. You know what I mean? And so then you have that of always that constant pulling of always like, I'm not trying to take him away as your son, but he never should have been your man. You know what I mean? Like those are two different dynamics that I shouldn't have to be tussling with you over
Mhm.
this individual.
But see, I don't think that I'm going to say this is older women. I I understand how my mother was taught. I understand what my grandmother was taught. I understand that we were always doing the most to help men feel like men. Okay, I get that.
Validated.
But when you can be honest, when I can be honest, and embrace my most authentic self, know who I am, know what I want, know that I don't have any competition, understand that I don't have a box, right? Um, I am boundless. I can be honest with you about my son. And I know y'all have heard me say this before. I love my son. He's a nice guy. Nice guy. Okay. And none of you can date him or marry him because you don't you don't deserve that.
Yeah.
You deserve to have a man that can build, that can support you, can make sure that you don't have to work if you don't want to, that if you want to sit home and be in your genius zone and run your business, that's what you do. You deserve a man that, oh, what did you bring to the table? You better have a whole house. My husband bought me a house. Now what? What now? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would never tell any of you as black women to try to get with my son. I would be like, girl, no, no, we gonna find somebody better. No, I'm sorry. I love him. I do. I love him. He's a nice kid. He's a nice guy. Cute. That's so cute. And that ain't for black women because you way too
Yeah.
and you deserve much more than that. I would never do that. But I had to be able to be honest. I had to really be truthful about who I am, who he is, who my daughter is, who my husband. I have to be honest about that with myself, right? And I think that's very difficult for us because while men may be taught to lie, we are taught to accept the lie with grace, knowing they lie, knowing we doing all of that to make
Yeah.
them look good. We doing
Were
all the
you
work.
there? Were you there? Was it last night on Thema Stream?
I think I was there earlier, and because y'all know I'm older, I fell asleep. I love Venus. Y'all know I love
It's
Venus.
understandable. No, but that I wish that was like a case study. I mean, if somebody said it was like a case study, but that was a classic example of
really was a
the
case study.
expectation of men that even when I'm wrong as a man, I'm still right. And you're supposed to follow me up with how right I am in my wrongness. And if I'm not all the way right, I can be somewhat right, and then that makes me completely right. But I'm never wrong.
People got annoyed with the lie, but I actually, for me personally, it was intriguing to watch when you don't know you're being watched. For me, because I like to kind of like, okay, I mean, I had jokes here and there, but it's watching someone, it's watching
Them
behavior.
unravel.
And it's not even, it's not, I mean, it also
and
depends.
not like a ha funny type of thing, but just like that's really how it happened because it was so familiar. It's like, oh, the way I talk about things, and I like to explain, I say, how does it feel? And these are the markers, and these are the things I noticed. The experience of it. Yeah, of seeing like, oh my God, I've been there before where I'm saying something to someone and I know, and it's not about me being right and I need to be right. It's about what you're saying doesn't make sense. What you're saying we can't use to move forward. What you're saying we can't build upon.
This is why I have an aversion to the king title. By the way, my ex used to love having the name king in front of his name, which I never understood because my dad never did that.
Yeah.
I mean, and one of the things he said is, you don't never call me king or you don't ever call me daddy. I said, I have a father. I don't understand what you're talking about. Like, I was like, I said, if you, maybe you're used to low self-esteem side woman that you think I'm that way. I was like, but if that's the case, you need to go there. I was like, because that's not who I am. I was like, I'm a partner to you. You are not my father. And by the way, like the other thing was too, is what I recognize is he made a statement about his parents. The problem is diamonds come out of rough. He made a statement like in his family, everyone is always assumed to be a king. First of all, most kings don't aim to be a king. If we're honest, most people who achieve greatness are not assuming that they are going to subjugate everyone. That's not what happens, actually. The title comes to you with reluctancy because you know the burden of the title, right?
You're doing it and people are like, oh, you're the king.
Yeah, and that is if it is the real word of king. The word that he chose, which is king, is not the word that should have been used. It should have been leader. I am a leader. See, you can't be a king before you're a leader. The leader has to come first. And then under pressure as a leader, if you have achieved, then you become great. So like him saying the whole like I'm great and he was predicating on inheritance, that means nothing. People with money lose money all the time. Yeah. People with money lose money all the time. And I think when he spoke about his mom I can understand why he's like that, because it doesn't seem like his mom applies pressure to him. She may coddle him, but not pressure. Because my mom, I'm like my brother and who he is now, I respect him so much. I mean, he's married to someone of another race, but he has never been like, I'm a date a black girl, white
Yeah,
girl. He's just
it
dated
just
girls.
happened.
He's dated black girls, white girls. There was no thing. But my brother and how he reacts to his wife and his kids, like people have told my brother, like, you should have more kids. He said, people tell me to have more kids, but do they understand what it is to be a father? I'm not just having kids to have kids. I'm having kids to be a presence in their life.
Yes.
Daycare is $1,600. I pick up my kids from soccer. And then it's another thing too. I realize a lot of men don't play a part in a lot of extracurricular activities, right?
Don't get me
So
started.
he does all those things, and then on top of it, when he spends time with his family, he's with his family. He actually doesn't have like a lot of male friends, to be quite honest. Only
Mm-hmm.
three. And then he's he even spends time separately with his wife, talking to, like, first of all, his wife won't allow it. That's one thing. But he talks to his wife in respect. She talks to him in respect. And when they talk about men being at a financial place, they were dating since they were in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point in time where she made more money and he was still working, and her job made her go to different states. And my
Mm-hmm.
brother, she wouldn't be back for 3 or 4 days because she'd have to fly out to California to do test studies. My brother would pick up the kids, drop them off, feed them, put them in bed, everything. Now the situation has totally shifted, and he makes more money, and it's not going to his head. He
Yeah.
doesn't feel like he's a king. He feels
Yeah.
like he's a father,
He's a
a
father.
husband.
Yes.
That's
That
where
is
you
a
hear
different,
that whole, oh, I'm babysitting. When you hear men talking about babysitting their
yeah.
own children, it's
Oh,
like, what are you talking about?
and I spoke to my brother, and he was like, a lot of men lack empathy. That is the problem. They think that they're just in a relationship, and they don't have any empathy or understanding for their partner. And when he was saying the whole king thing and all this other stuff, and I'm like, first of all, you're asking for a certain level of entitlement, even if it's not king, even leadership. You can't say that you are
Are
ready
you
to lead,
qualified?
and you're still asking your dad for money. You are not ready to lead. Like, and that's okay. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. People are just people just want to skip stages. Like,
But do they really
me,
know who they are? I mean, like they're living the same Disney dream as other people.
it could
So
be.
do they really know? Do they really sit with themselves? How many of them are going to therapy? How many are figuring themselves out? Because while my parents were who they were, I chose a different path. I chose to study myself. I chose to learn about my emotions and use them to get the outcome I'm going for. So there are times when I act in accordance with my emotions, and there are times when I act opposite. It depends on what the outcome is that I'm going for. Most men, like I said, they they have the capacity to do maybe five things if they're, you know, if they're genius, maybe they have the capacity to do five things all at once, right? But most men don't do that. And the other thing that we don't understand is women create. When you can create a human being, that is the ultimate. That's why everybody's trying to control the pussy, because if you control the pussy, you control the world. You need people to go to war, to pay taxes, to do the work for you. You need people. And if you can't control the creative process with which they come through, then you got nothing. So when women start to understand that we are creators, they make things. There's a big difference in that.
And you
And
know
Mm.
if
what?
you don't know who you are, then it's a good bet that you the rest of it, all you're trying to do is mimic. So when we're looking at behaviors, if you all watch me, when you all are talking, I'll come forward like this, right? And it emotes something within you. It's not that I'm making you feel a certain way, it's that I've had to do studies on the brain. So I have to understand that it's what I can't see that I want to try to touch. So in your minds, when I'm doing this and I'm listening to you, I'm coming in, even though we're on camera. When I'm doing this, I'm exerting power, right? When I say do this, I'm telling your brain to trust me. And your brain trusts me. So when I say that, really, like I told my daughter, the thing you need to get your bachelor's in is psychology. From there, when
Mhm.
you go get your master's and doctorate, if you're going to be dealing with people in any kind of way, shape, or fashion, get your psychology degree. I know you've learned a lot at home because I've done that, but that's not
Yeah.
enough. You need to experience these things for yourself and put uh, the psychology degree that you go after in effect in your environment, your realm, right? So you need it from a different source than just me, right? And then once you start putting that together, you can go get your master's in whatever you want. You want to be an educator, do that. You want to be an engineer, do that. You want to be whatever, I don't know, build bridge, whatever, do that. You could do
Yeah.
fly planes, you could do whatever it is. But if you got a psychology degree, the first thing that you should learn in psychology, which a lot of psychology classes don't teach you, is that you your problem. you know? And you
Yeah.
need to study yourself first. And you need to work on learning who you are and who you believe yourself to be, not what's been imprinted on you by other people, what they need you to be for them, you know? So that takes just a lot of it takes a lot of processing, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time. I did the studies because my daughter's that important to me. And I wanted her to have if I could go back, we always say that, right? If I could go back in time and I knew what I know now, blah, 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 you know what I'd be doing? Da, da, da. But
I
what
say
if
that
you
often.
are doing that? What if you are doing that in real time with your own daughters, right? That's amazing. Because I think my daughter is a super human version of me. Like she's super bad, right? And she thinks I'm a wizened version of her.
Mm-hmm.
And I because I've done these things. I've done the hard things. And I've listened to people's comments about who they think I am or what the fuck ever. You don't decide who I am. You don't. I really don't care. Um I have decided who I am. I have chosen as to who my most authentic self is. And it is a combination of complexities,
And it takes
right?
development too.
So,
I think a lot of people
yeah.
don't realize, like, and this is why I don't like when men deposit that they're a king or this. I'm like, you're jumping the broom. Like, you're not taking the time to first know where you want to be and know what it takes to develop to be that person. You can't be like, you can't be 25, a leader, and then giving advice on marriage when you haven't even attained that yet. You understand? Like, I feel like people are giving a lot, and that's another thing too. A lot of people are giving advice on marriage. Half of them never been married. Like, how can you advise? It's like me asking a plumber on how to make a social media platform like Bill Gates. It makes no sense. Like, you can't want instant gratification and instant adoration, right? It is so, and then actually, to be quite honest, really, when people respect you, it's just you actually living your life and knowing who you are, and they come to respect it. It's not because you're like, let me see how people can adore me, let me see how I can subjugate you. It has nothing to do with that. And even when they talk about marriage, like when a lot of people talk about marriage, and even when they talk about marriage, like I was listening to something else the other day, and they were saying you know, I want to marry a black man and da, da, da. I'm like, I've been married to a black man. I know many people married to black men. We're not sitting here trying to fight the power in the house. Like that's not what's going on.
Right? Like our
Right?
blackness has very
Yeah,
little
like
to
I'm
do with
not
the
like I
actual
got a
ins
pen
and
and
outs
I'm
of the
like
marriage.
fight the power. No, like where I'm not. I don't have. I can honestly tell you most of the people I know who are married and black don't have one damn BLMNK shirt in their house. Not one. Like most of the most successful managers. You know what they're worried about? All right, we have these kids, we have a house. How are we going to build a legacy? Okay, I want to buy a home. I'm going to leave this to my children. All right, I'm going to try and put my kids in the best school. All right, you need tutoring? Let me help you with that. All right, you know what? Let's have family time together. Like the core of making greatness, really, and this is why, in my opinion, like in the black community, is such a problem, really starts at the core of your family. It has nothing to do with everything outside. If we can't build regular families where there is a sense of love, caring, appreciation, like you can't build a community. And even at large, right? Okay, we're black people, we live within a dichotomy of other people. Some of the issues even outside of our community, even in white America, is probably because there's a fracture and a lack of respect for the female womb, right?
Yes.
So many of us
Mm-hmm.
are
Mm-hmm.
working, going to school, trying to maintain how, like, it wasn't meant to necessarily be a non-imbalance, and we are making do with that. And probably for women, it's easy for women to come out a little better because they have our prototype, but the men are not necessarily doing the work within them to be up to par, to be on standard, to have a level of acceptance. If you're complaining about making $40,000 a year, how do you have time as a set of people to travel to different countries to have sex? It doesn't make sense. You're out of balance with what you need to do. What you should be doing is when you're making $40,000, because let's be honest, most people that make $40,000, that doesn't last up until your older age, right? You build income. If you're making $40,000 at 25, you can't still be making $40,000 at 35. It doesn't make sense. You get a raise, right? Every year. You should be looking to improve your mind, your spirit, and have other goals. Maybe the problem is that maybe your goals are to achieve vaginal access without emotional access and value. That is your problem. Because if you start at for $40,000 a year, you can get another job in 5 years and get 50,000, and therefore, and it ascends upwards. It is because your purpose is not aligned with what it is to create a family, with what it is to create a community. That is your real problem. So I really hate the stat of most men make 45. No, you're making that. That's because that's where you want to stay. The men that make $40,000 should be the men within the 20-year-old to 30-year-old bracket. Once you hit 35 to 40, what has your focus been? What
But
have
I've
you been?
never, the thing is, I've never asked a man to make me feel like a woman. I've
Oh,
never
yeah,
asked
that's
a
true.
man to work on my education for me.
No, that's for their own
There's
problem. That's
not
not
one
our
man who
problem.
studied a book, read a line for me. I had to consume all that information myself. And unlike quite a few black men who do go to college, most black women are going to college on this and pure creative talent. They are not going to college on MBA or whatever scholarships, right? We are going to college and we actually have to do the work and actually have to study and get, because that's how it is for us, especially as black women. So I don't really, I have gone past the ability to listen to black men or anybody else tell me that oh well, your education don't matter. Well, it shouldn't matter to you because you ain't gonna get shit from it anyway. I mean, you know, my personal education, you didn't earn it. So last time I looked, when I go to school, and this is something else we don't talk about as Black women, we don't talk about how we have to deal with racism every single day, all day, and what it is to be on a job with white women and what it requires. You know, even if we have some of us white female friends, right? When you're on that job, you know, you all of you know that there are people put in authority over you, and it's like the United States is one big plantation, you know. And so we as Black women are Black too. Do you think you're the only ones being shot by police? You're not. You think you the only ones dealing with somebody fucking with your finances? You not. But it's so weird how Black women take that, take air, and create a realm. So weird. That's just so weird how that happens. And you want to sit here and blame me because you chose to abort your child after they were created? So, because Black men get to abort their children after they create. They get to act like they never existed. And they are full human beings with needs. I was up 24/7 watching over my children while you laying up wherever. You ain't made a doctor's appointment. You ain't at the dentist. You ain't trying to create no whatever the hell project they got to do. You ain't taking off and showing up at school and letting the teacher know, Hooker, whatever happened to my daughter going to happen to you. So it's in your best interest to make her shit very smooth. We're going to make this very peaceful for her. That's what we're going to do. Yeah. We're going to all be about her. That's what we should do. That's my advice.
There's a connection
So,
too, I think, also in when you have a child, if you decide to partake in those moments throughout that lifetime, like building a loyalty. And this is why I say there's a lot of men that don't understand what it is to build a relationship. Building loyalty and moments in time create a connection with someone that is beyond a sexual prowess. You know what I'm saying?
yes.
Like the time, like the way you can talk about your daughter, or she could talk about her daughter, I could talk about my daughter. That is through time and experience built over time. So, you know, when they say a lot of men feel lonely, this is why I said it is self-imposed, right? Because relationships are beyond what is in your legs. It is something else. There's a lot of people when they get older, a lot of men when they get older, they can't even function that way. So you have to present yourself in something beyond that, right? Like to for your daughter to cry and say, "Mom, I went through this," and know that that you are there to be with her. You know what I mean? Even okay, and even to know, even understanding how to deal with conflict. Like, you know, okay, I said, you know, I had a problem with my daughter. I called, I spoke to her, and I said, "Listen, this is how we have to move the needle." You know, like there's a certain respect and honor that is created in the fact that you gave that some person time and they gave you time. You know, I don't think a lot of men could call a friend and say, "Wow, you know what? I'm really depressed right now. Like I'm feeling really sad right now." Like you know, I when I see like a lot of conversation, it's about this person submit and this, you know, calling women out their name, which I don't even understand. You know what I mean? Everything is about catching a fleeting physical moment, and a lot of people are like walking zombies and have gone away from what it is to care for people. And that could be because maybe they don't respect women as a whole, because women as a whole are caring beings. That is what we do. So, you know, when a lot of these men are saying, well, they're feeling lonely, it is because you've taught us not to care about you. You know what I'm saying? It's not that we didn't want to care. We did want to care. We were there, we were present, you know, we tried to talk it through, we tried to mediate, and then you say things like, well, you should choose better. So we
Well,
are. You say,
Kim,
you know what I'm saying?
turns
You
out to
say,
be unsafe for us a lot of times,
yeah, I mean,
right?
you
It's
say we
not
should
that
choose
we didn't
better.
try.
So we are.
Yeah.
You say we should close our legs, and we are. You say, why you keep on having babies? Well, I don't know. The population rate is going down. So we're not. You have to realize what you're saying is what you're bringing into fruition too. Like there is also a certain level of power within yourself as there is a power within me too, right? I have the power to not engage, and you have the power, like I was telling my daughter, to push people away. And if you continue to do that, people will not return to you. So this is why for me, when a lot of men say, like, they were talking about stats and they're saying a lot of Black women are unmarried, or, they don't want to marry. It's not that we don't want to. We might have presented ourselves the way we wanted to. You might have passed 15 girlfriends on your way to 40 years old. And you were so internally lost in your own spirit that no one was good enough because you were never good enough. And that's not my problem. That is your problem.
I'm gonna hop in here because I feel like that is a perfect segue to go ahead and start moving towards closing out, because what you said, absolutely spot on when we're talking about, being angry and the power that our anger gives us. Ultimately, like, we can go and we can wreak havoc. We can yell, we can scream, we can break windows, we can fight, we can, knock out teeth. But the greatest power we have is to, and I've been saying this, that's why everything always just links, it's like another link in the chain. Disengage. We have the power to disengage. We have the power to say, like you said, if I'm not operating at a level that you feel like I should be at, you're right. You don't have to put up with me. I'm going to go. I'm going to take my toys and I'm going to go on home. If you feel like I'm being too much of a hoe, you're right. I'm going to shut it on down. You're not going to be able to come in here. You feel like we're just having too many wanting kids? Okay, cool. We're going to shut it on down. We're going to enjoy our lives. We're going to travel. We're going to live. We're going to love. We're going to judge, whatever. We're going to do anything but that is the power of being angry, because it is until you get angry are you going to understand that you're not happy, and then ask the questions, realize what's going on, and then make the changes and be accountable, because that's accountability. So I'm gonna give you guys I'm gonna get it's 3:17. So I'll give you each like 3 minutes to go ahead and go up. I think confidence was first, or has been first in the things. So I'll let you go, and then I will let you go out.
I just want to thank both of you for this conversation, and Miss Mango too. I just appreciate the um the ability to be in such august presence. um it means a lot to me. It means a lot to me to listen and to understand and to go back and reflect and evolve myself. So I really need to thank you for Vitamin, and this is a marvelous space. I just, it is like I can't even like I can't even express right now how wonderful this feels to just be sharing such a space with such a brilliant people, brilliant women. Like this is
Oh,
wow.
Mango came
So
back. It makes me
thank
feel
you.
so good to hear you say that, because like I said, you know how they say, if you build it they will come, and I was like, I built
Yes.
it, and I felt like I was screaming into the void, man. I just was like, I don't know if they're ready, how sometimes you like, it's needed, but you don't know if everybody's ready. So it makes me feel good, because ultimately I just want I want everyone to find the sunshine again, to feel that warmth of being able to step back into the sun and feel the love of God and feel, you know,
Yes.
worthy.
Yes.
Definitely.
So I listen, everybody have a wonderful night. Thank you, my loves. I really just appreciate spending this time with you.
Thank
Vitamin
you.
girl, I'm gonna see all y'all later. Y'all know. Good night,
Thank you so much,
everyone.
Confidence. I'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
Valerie.
Yeah. What do I want to say? I want to say that I am honored, even though I know I've struggled with being a woman and living in a woman's body for all my life. And I remember when I was younger, I said, I hate being a woman. I hate being a woman. But what I can say is that other women make me love being a woman. Like, and
Mhm.
and I hope that my two daughters can find self-love and always reside in self-love. And I'm trying to always give them that. And I'm happy that we can have this space to share our most, maybe sometimes our most emotional thoughts, and maybe to work through that. And I hope that we can always make ourselves more present, um ascend to a different person, a different being, especially because we are the bringer and the creator of life into this planet. So it is important that we love ourselves internally and we take times for ourselves, so that way, for those of us who choose to bring new life, because I don't think everyone has to,
Mhm.
that they can do that in the most healing way. And that's it. That's about it. Thank you,
Well,
guys.
thank you so much, Valerie, for sharing. And thank you for coming on and talking with me. You confidence and Mango Woman really helped like make the life, because I can talk, but I love having the dialogue with you guys. So I greatly appreciate your contribution to the conversation tonight.
Thank you. Bye. God bless you.
All right, see you next time. Mango Woman, you're back. Where's the baby? He lay down.
And he's with the girls. They're hanging out in the living room. So it's about to be his bedtime soon.
Hmm.
Um, I just, I'm in the place of just reflecting because I feel like I never had grace to allow to be angry, allow to be sad, and to be nurture and to understand that it's okay to be angry in this moment because something is, causing that reaction in you. And it's okay to be sad in this moment and to have your feeling being real and being validated and understood. And that's what I'm working on through therapy. Like literally, we was just taking a walk through like my early years into coming into this country because I immigrated. Like I came to
Hmm.
this country when I was about 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. So my first experience in America was a bullying experience because my English language was very heavy with my dialect and I couldn't, speak proper quote unquote English. So it took like it was just like, oh no, we fighting. You're not gonna bully me. like that was always
Right? Yes.
yeah, that was always my response because like growing up in West Africa, like we're not talking shit, like we're fighting. Like that's what we're
Yeah.
gonna
I
do.
don't got time for this. Square
Yeah, we
up.
don't got time for that. So I wasn't for the bullies. And I guess they didn't understand, like it just didn't click with me in that way, the verbal thing. Like I don't do verbal because I've never been good at like expressing myself. So if I hear like one of them talking about me, I'll just walk over like, all right, you got something to say, let's fight. Like we could decide if we
Okay.
like each other or we don't like each other after the fight. So I got in a lot of trouble for that because that was just like, no, you're gonna treat me with, like I'm a human being. So it was just like finding my way to like force my way into navigating that. But at home, there was no, I need to hear you. I need you to express yourself, or I see what you're dealing with. So now at the age of 37, 36, 37, I'm learning how to be that way in myself. And it took a lot of different therapists to get here. It's kind of like, finding a good boyfriend, a good bra type of thing, to finally land where to land where like somebody is listening and responding and challenging me. And I'm also looking at YouTube video, looking at the school of life, and learning about narcissistic abuse and childhood trauma, and CPT, and how those things can affect you growing up, and how your own insecurities play in your parenting role, because
Give me.
you get so
Go ahead and keep
sure,
talking for a second. I need to.
sure, you get so hard and get so down on yourself trying to get it all together and keep it perfect, and you don't understand that taking this step right now is part of being a good mom. Checking and making sure you're doing a good job and not being full of yourself, that is part of the process, and that is not always going to be perfect. So at this moment, after experiencing, like I said, that horrible narcissistic abusive relationship, and coming here, I feel like a kid again. I feel like I'm relearning and reviewing a lot of my emotional patterning, and just taking out the junks that don't belong there, the garbage, the misguidance or lack thereof. Just going over that, it's been amazing and beautiful that I'm here in this space, and just being able to just focus on me and my children right now. Like, that is important. I give this weird analogy to my therapist. I was like, I feel like mentally like I'm 25. Like, because I feel like I finally got everything mentally that I needed to get. And like, okay, I'm ready for the world now. Like, it's time for me to push me. But I already been pushed out, and I already done all of this already. So it's like I'm not going back with the eyes of the 25-year-old and looking and reworking and creating that comfort level that it means to be me. What does it mean to be me? Not just physically, mentally, spiritually, listening to meditation, listening to Abraham Hicks, and all the spiritual leaders that have come to noon recently, and just learning that it's okay to not be okay, and it will be okay. and, and to be here with like learning about the Black community and all the other nuances and outside of you, that's what I call type of thing, that you may or may not have control over it, but like understanding yourself within the ecosystem, that is happening right now, right? Being able to navigate that space as a woman, as a parent, and yeah, I'm in no rush, and I'm definitely not going to be. My plan right now is I just switch a new job. I'm doing fully remote, doing insurance as yes, as a nurse, and it's paying me like 15 grand more than I was making
I know that's
before.
right.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I like this, but I'm about to switch to something else because they're looking for school nursings right now. And they paying like 3 times more.
Let me tell you, softening your life. Once you just open that door to say, you know what, there's more
Hmm.
money to be had. I want it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
That's
And
it.
it's coming my way. And then I'm just like, I want to go back for my doctorate. Like, I feel like
Oh,
getting my degree initially and becoming a nurse was like a force to prove to other people that I'm not just a baby maker or a single mother. Like, I could be something better. Like, this is something I always wanted to do anyway before kids. Like, being a nurturer, a lover, a giver, a carer has always been part of who I am. So going to be a nurse was just like giving me that, educational licensing aspect of that nurturing and caring. And now to want to go back for my doctorate would be, it's like, it's for my soul. It's like
Yeah.
to quench my internal thirst, that
Yeah.
I want to specialize in mental health, and I want to be able to be a Black woman therapist and provide services for other Black women too. So that's like my next year goal. And I told myself, like, if I have to be broke on food stamp, so be it. If I could dedicate full time to
Yeah.
being a student, and maybe I work one day a week, do a 12-hour shift,
Get it
so
done.
be it. But that's my goal right now, is just to stock up money, save, save, save. Take the kids, of course, a little place here and there, but save and prepare. I'm doing my application right now for my entrance and all this other stuff. I
Mhm.
just started the process, and I'm really hoping, putting in universe right now. I want Columbia. I want Columbia
Oh my
University.
God. Yes. Please let me know if and when,
Yes.
like, not if, please let me know when
Yes.
you get in, when you get your letter and everything.
Yes, I'm putting it out there because I'm starting the process. That's what I want. Of course, I'm applying to the other places too, but like Columbia is what I want.
Oh
And
my
yeah,
God.
I just want to buckle down for the next 3 years, starting next year summer, because they usually start in the summer, and just like do school and be a mom. And then 3 years from now, we'll see what new phoenix that arises from the ash. You know?
Girl, well, that just lit me up. I cannot wait
Yeah.
until we are celebrating your doctorate degree, because it's happening.
Yeah.
It's just happening.
Yeah.
That's it. But you are incredible. You are amazing. And like, you've been coming and sharing these stories. And I remember when you came up on the live, when I did my book, when you came up and I think you were going somewhere. And
Yeah.
like, and the thing is, y'all wouldn't even know. Like, y'all come to me and you say, "Oh yeah, I'm so inspired," and y'all inspire me, because I'm sitting here, no degree, maybe a few credits because I I got pregnant at school. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But y'all out here doing it. You are incredible. You are incredible. And like, I only had that one baby for a long time. I had the one, and then
Mhm.
like 10 years later, I had the second one. But you was having baby after baby after baby. Look,
6 of them. Yep.
you are magnificent. You are
Thank
an
you.
inspiration to me. I want you specifically to know that.
Thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you. I
Well, I
appreciate
don't know any other better way to close out of tonight's live. I want to thank you, Mango Woman. I want to thank Valerie. I want to thank Confidence with Love. I want to thank everybody in the chat, everybody who just kind of stopped through. I ask you humbly to like, share, and subscribe. Like I said, today was Thursday, but it's usually on Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to release everybody and myself because I'm hungry.
Thank you.
And I will see everybody. I will play the outro, and then I will see everybody where I see y'all. Bye now.